We've done it all year. We've thrown a bunch of players into a pot. They play a bunch of BO1s, and someone comes out on top with a pile of cash. But now, we are here to the final, the end, where the 8 best Royale Masters King of the Hill players will duke it out for the biggest prize pool of the year. Andrew, it's good to see you after our little break post-World Finals. I know that you are pumped because we have a killer lineup today.
Yeah, you know, it's like after World Finals happens, you wonder, can you keep up the intensity? Can I keep up the energy? Well, for Royale Masters King of the Hill Edition, you bet your bottom dollar we can. We're so excited because not only do we have world-class competitors, but we are giving away $250 a game. You win, $250. You lose, $0. And there is no guaranteed prize money. So all things on the line. I mean, look, they already won money by being here. These are the 8 best competitors we've had in King of the Hill throughout the year. But as Rich talked about, I think we have a little bit of a format video here to talk you guys through that have maybe not been here before. First of all, where have you been all year? But the way that we've been doing it is there's been qualifiers, and then day 2 is just a best of 1. That seeding on day 2 was based off of how well you did in the qualifiers. Today, however, we're doing it based off of the amount of wins that you got throughout the year. So for instance, Mohammed Light, our number 1 seed, has 19 wins in King of the Hill on just 2 appearances. He was able to get 13 one time, 6 the other. And then the prize pool that you saw is normally what we have, Rich. Normally you're given a little bit of money when you show up, and then for each win you get $100. But like I said today, it's $250 per game for a total of $6,000.
$6,000. $6,000. That is a hefty prize pool for a day like today. 24 total games played. And, of course, we do have our number 1 player from the season has the chance to win the most of that because they start off in our top spot. Mohammed Light, no surprises here. The seeding for our final King of the Hill. We have our 8 winners from King of the Hill this year, and they are seeded in order of how many total wins they put up throughout our entire Royale Masters King of the Hill season. And you see there in 8th place, Aslan, who had a tiebreaker with world finalist Adriel, but he had just a few more. He performed better in the qualifier phase, and that settled the deal between those two. So Aslan, our 8th place spot. Mohammed Light, the number 1. Mo and Doom kick things off today, and one of them could have the chance to win all $6,000. Is it going to happen, Andrew? Probably not, but they are the only 2 who have that possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it would be absolutely nuts to see someone go on a run. Like we said, we saw Mohammed Light go on a win of like a 13 wins in 1 week. It wasn't all in a row, but it was still a dominant display. And then you talk about Dominic, who has had also a really good year in King of the Hill, who has 16 wins throughout his 3 appearances. So maybe not quite the hit rate that Mohammed Light has, but, you know, Doom is now a CRL commentator, Rich, so he could just be like Juicy and, you know, show up in tournaments, win, you know, what did he win? What did Juicy win? Like $100,000, and then go back to CRL commentating. So, you know, Doom living the best of both worlds right now. I'm really excited to get into this because, like you said, no one's ever swept the table. It's best of 1. Anything can happen, which means we probably won't just see Goblin Giant every single game, but who knows? We probably will see a lot of it. And then the other thing is the Ice Spirit Evo is not available, which you and I were both telling Tasty, which also big shout out to Tasty, best producer in the business. It doesn't matter if the Ice Spirit Evo was banned or not banned. I really don't think anyone would play it here today.
Yeah, it's not quite it yet. It is refreshing to me to see an Evo come out and not be immediately meta changing, but of course that's what balance changes will do. Maybe some Evos will come down, some Evos will come up, and then of course hints that maybe there might be more than one Evo in a deck sometime in the future. It's a big Evo list of things released later. We have some time for the Ice Spirit Evo to find its place, but that place is not today. Today, we have just the hopefully not all Goblin Giant meta. Hopefully, please. We did see, and big shout out to our number 1 finisher on ranked this season, Ian, an absolute hero who got number 1 with the Royal Hogs EQ cycle deck, which we saw Mohammed Light play very well against Goblin Giant this year. So maybe we'll see some of that. Maybe we'll see people try to snipe Goblin Giant. I don't know. But either way, we're going to see a lot of Clash Royale today.
Was it the Royal Hogs with delivery?
I believe it was the delivery deck. I
feel like you
have to
have
go back
to
and
have
take a
it.
look.
Right now, like all control decks, it feels like delivery. Even like Hog Cycle, you know, Miter Poison Control. You figure all of these are just going to have delivery. Delivery feels like such an important card right now. Yeah, with the meta hasn't really changed at all. You know, like from World Finals, you know, we didn't get balance changes like we thought we might. There has not been an emergency nerf to Goblin Giant. I'm wondering if it's just going to get ground out. Like, are people just going to be so tired? But there's always people that are just going to want to win. And if it's the best win condition in the game, it's not going to go anywhere. So that being said, that is our TED Talk on Goblin Giant and Evo Ice Spirit. Evo Archers definitely still need a little bit of attention, but I'm okay with where they're at. I mean, they're obviously very, very strong, but they don't feel quite as game-breaking. There's still some skill in where you need to place them, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of Evo Archers. But yeah, so gonna get in the action here very, very soon, guys. In case you don't know what this is the last event of the year for Royale Masters. So make sure you guys go. All of the information is right below Rich's name. That's all the places you can follow along. You got Discord, you got YouTube, you got Twitter or X or whatever it is, and Instagram. But I'm sure and hopefully next year that we'll have a full list of amazing competitions, just like we had this year. We had Summer Clash with a bunch of different game modes. We had traditional Royale Masters with their great dual mode. And then obviously here, King of the Hill, which is King of the Hill is maybe the best for someone that just wants to show up, try to win and try to win some money. It's like the least committal of all the other ones, but still, and there's King of the Hill.
And, you know, talking about, we're going to get into our gameplay here in just a couple of minutes. Talking about the meta we might see here, I just brought up the Royale API put a list of the top 10 leaderboard decks. And we talked about it already. Ian getting number 1 with the Royal Hogs Delivery Little Prince cycle. Number 2, Jorge Luis with the Giant Graveyard deck with the Arrows Snowball, which also made an appearance by Roberto at number 8. And then in number 7th place, we saw again that same Hog EQ deck, but with the Inferno Tower rather than Cannon. Every other deck in the top 10, 6 were not, the other, or 4 were not, the other 6 were all Goblin Giant Bowler or Goblin Giant Sparky, with a lot of Rage mixed in there as well. So maybe a little preview of what we might see today, although with the caliber of players that we have, with Mohamed Light, Ruben, Igor, lots of really talented players here in the mix. Doom, Lucas, the only player to win 2 monthly finals without a coach. Faust.
Without a coach.
Maybe we'll see a different meta, but we can only wait until we see it.
And yeah, we're just waiting on Mo Light. Looks like he's having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues. We can't start without the Pharaoh himself, even though he is not our world champion. He is still considered maybe the best in the world. That's a conversation that's going to continue going on until our next World Finals, which I'm very excited about, between him and Mugi, who's the best. But talking about Mo, 19 wins on the season. Dominic got 16. Lucas was able to get 14. And Igor rounds out our top 4 with 11 wins. And those were all of our double-digit finishers. Then we have Faust at 9, Adnan at 9, Ruben at 8, and of course Aslan at 6. Hopping into game, here we go. Game number 1, Mo Light, top of your screen, and the bottom of your screen, the best lava player in the business, probably still, I would think. I mean, there's probably a couple guys that give him a run for his money, but he's pretty close.
And seeing maybe some at least somewhat nicer stuff, as we're seeing the Bomber here in the mix. We're seeing a Tombstone. Doesn't feel super Goblin Giant-y yet, of course. Who knows? It can pop up anywhere. But so far, so good.
Yeah. Top of your screen could be Graveyard, could be E-Giant. Little Prince still everywhere. I like Little Prince. I think there probably could still be maybe a slight bit of work done to Little Prince, but I'm pretty happy with where he's at the moment.
And we do have a bowler, but we have a loon going the opposite direction. And maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe this is still Goblin Giant, although the Tombstone makes it feel, boy, probably E-Giant then. And Loon, King Tower activation. And look at this, Mohamed Light trying to take advantage of the opening here. The arrows come out for the archers, doesn't matter. Little Prince survives, and Doom, your tower! Oh boy,
that is huge, and Doom already knows it's over. He misses the snowball there. All he needed to do was hit that snowball, push Little Prince back, then get the arrows in, and he would have been able to mitigate at least some of that damage. But instead, just getting a little bit, let's just say getting warmed up. It is the first match of the day. Just misses that snowball, and then Doom comes out with his signature lava.
And there you have it. And playing it a little bit closer to his chest with more of the cycle kind of opening here, but Bomber not really in just Loon on its own typically, but Mohamed Light now can just sit back and defend. Has 2 air card defenses, Tombstone way over to the side, and now with the Evo Archers in the mix, does he pick up, and doesn't pick up the Inferno Dragon in time to protect the Little Prince? Snowball clears the Evo Archers, but the Inferno Dragon beautifully kited by the Guardian.
Yeah, and this is just so nice by Mo. I mean, you're talking about a picture-perfect game, clean defense on both sides, very little damage taken, hasn't even had to play his win condition. He was able to do it just with the Little Prince. And Doom going to go to the back of the line, and Mo Light going to already be up $250 unless he puts together the most incredible push we've ever seen here to get through the NATO, to get through the Lightning, all that. Can't imagine it's going to happen, though.
Is there any way to get to that Little Prince? Bomber gets 2 shots. There is a Loon. NATO isn't done yet, but can this speed it in time? I think Tombstone will be more than sufficient to get out there. Probably not even need it. Mohamed Light just going to go ahead and watch that thing die to the Archers. GG, well played. Mohamed Light starts things off as you would expect with a dub.
Yeah, just, I mean, exactly like you said. I mean, World Finals was such an interesting time because we had to get used to the fact that Mo Light is human and that he might not just win every single game that he plays. And he picks up right back where he left off, at least in the monthly finals, with a very clean win. And yeah, E-Giant not even needing to come out at all, which, you know, you give some respect to Doom doing what he does best, which is he wanted to play Lava. He's playing his own game. That matchup through and through, absolutely brutal. I mean, the fact that Mo has the Lightning, has the NATO, the Bowler can control everything on the ground. There's a reason why there's basically only like 2 or 3 people in the world that are playing Lava Hound right now, and Doom is one of them.
I don't think Mo even got the E-Giant out once throughout that entire game. It was just, hey, he got the big moment, and that's what I think the biggest thing to take away from this is you can't let the Little Prince do you like that. The way it happened on that right-hand side. You have arrows, you have Snowball. Wasn't set up for success against the Little Prince, and I think maybe that's the biggest takeaway here, is that Doom, in a meta where we're playing BO1s, you're probably going to see the little twerp every once in a while, probably every single game. Not having that really well covered, I think, was an oversight.
I had a moment the other night when I was sitting on the couch playing, and I was playing with sound, and I think it was the end of season, so I was like trying to get a little sweaty with it. Did not go well for me. But yeah, the Little Prince, you talk about the Phoenix being annoying upon her release. I think the Little Prince might have taken the cake. Now, I know the bird was so annoying, but at least it was like the sound of a bird, whereas like the Little Prince and his voice, and every time I just see that voice actress, which again, shout out to her, she did such a good job, he drives me nuts. He drives me absolutely wild at this point.
Yeah, you know what would be an interesting quality of life feature is if you could mute certain cards. That would be very nice, right? Like,
interesting.
I'll still say the bird one was worse just because you could get to a point where there were like 8 of them on the board at once.
Yeah,
right?
It was just that sound was all you could hear.
Right?
Yeah.
That one was really brutal, but if you talk about just an individual moment, it's up there with But I'm the Queen.
Yeah, I don't think they could have made hers more whiny when she died, but she's dying, I guess. In all fairness, I'm pretty sure I'll probably sound pretty horrible when that happens to me, especially if it's on a battlefield like this. Anyway, that got weirdly dark. Let's go. Here we go. Lucas, bottom of your screen. Mohamed Light at the top. Also, I realized earlier when we gave a shout out to Tasty Bacon, we both like kissed our hands and pointed up. He is alive. In case anyone was worried.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Very good point there. And a big shout out to some of our chatters on YouTube and Twitch. Gamerboy2013 saying Clash Royale is the best. I certainly do feel it. Devlop, common commentator. Shout out to the community and great commentary. And then over on Twitch, we are on both platforms here. DeBang was loving our Ian77 love earlier. So thanks everyone here for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday.
We got a lot of love for World Finals. I was very happy about that. We've come a long way since 2018.
Yes, sir.
Which people also always like to remind us when they compliment us.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite things.
That's also true. Oh, look at this. Arrows, Snowball, Bowler. Maybe seeing some graveyard action out of Mohamed Light here in game number 2.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm happy that there's more graveyard in the mix, even though, you know, it's just another one of the win conditions that's maybe not the most exciting to watch, but at least it's a little bit different. And then Royal Giant has been showing up again. Of all the years and all the times I've tried, I still just can't just can't figure out RG. I mean, I kind of figure it out. I just don't really love playing it still.
Well, if you need a really great in-depth guide to playing Royal Giant, Andrew, I can point you to youtube.com/richslate, where there's a phenomenal
Does it highlight
guide.
Moogie gameplay?
No, it's me with Minnie breaking down 5 tips to make you better at Royal Giant.
Okay, got it. Well,
Yep.
maybe I should watch that because I definitely could use some help.
Me too.
That
I
at
made
least
the
kinda
video and I'm still bad with it.
It kind of plays like Graveyard a little bit, but then in terms of like when I Graveyard and when I Royal Giant, I'm much better at Graveyarding.
I feel you on that one, and that was a nice lightning here to shut down this play. And Smurfblade in the chat on YouTube asking, Ice Spirit Evo banned? I imagine that's standard, but I would have liked to see it anyway. But it is banned. It's a new card, so it is typically new cards are not allowed for the first 2 weeks after release in competition. So same thing here today. And look at this, Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. to the right-hand side. Bowler doing its best to control. Should be more than up to the task here as the Fish Boy pulls the Giant to the middle, and so far Mo is just completely shut down in this matchup.
Yeah, and now you talk about the King Tower being activated. It's just going to be nothing but tough for him. He's not going to really ever be able to find a moment to get that Graveyard out, and if he does, it's super easy for Lucas to defend. And yeah, Lucas may be the biggest question mark on 2023. Hopefully someone you'll see bounce back in 2024. Definitely miss seeing him in the competitive scene, and was pretty surprised that he just kind of disappeared. Rodin here. Yeah, it's a really good video from Rich about RG. There we go.
Oh, thank you very much. Here we go. Goblins and Little Prince working on the right-hand side here, and the DPS of the Little Prince. Mo just can't get to it, and that's one of the, I'm a little surprised that this deck fared as well as it did in this season, just because of how do you, I mean, the Bowler counters Little Prince on its own side, but obviously it's hard to break through against Little Prince on the opposite side of the board, as we're seeing.
Yeah, and I think also like Fish Boy wasn't in all of those decks, and I think Fish Boy definitely changes this matchup so much just because of that King Tower activation. And you know, you always talk about this with Evos, but at least in terms of like Little Prince, even though he's a champion, I do really like that you can use him as a bit of a tank stopper, as you're seeing right there. Just that little bit of pushback that you see a lot of good players use on big tanks like Giants and Goblin Giants, and even NKs. Just like instead of having the necessity of a building between Fish Boy and that ability now, it's like almost you can not even use buildings in certain decks, which I think is pretty cool. I like that change.
Have you ever seen this many bowlers on the board at one time?
Yeah, I was actually just looking at my other monitor because that's where I have the YouTube pulled up, and I was thinking the exact same thing. I think, you know, people always talk about that 2023 bingo card, and had I ever thought that Bowler would be used as much as it was in World Finals, and that it was always basically out at the end of Game 1, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, I mean, Bowler certainly making a huge splash into the scene, pun intended, in 2023. But even with how much we saw Bowler, I don't know if I've ever seen how many times I've seen 4, or maybe even at one point 5 bowlers on the board at the same time. That was special.
Yeah, well, what's so funny about that too is that you think, oh yeah, let's, you know, we have champions in play, we have the Little Prince, let's cycle like crazy, maybe we can get more archers out, maybe we can get more X out, but it's just like, oh, let's just get as many bowlers down as possible, because as long as there's bowlers down, we can control the board, and maybe you'll get splash damage on tower. They just do. I guess he needs a nerf. I guess he does, or is it just? I mean, we haven't even seen Goblin Giant yet, so I guess Bowler is just also a little broken.
I mean, yeah, Bowler is in Graveyard, Bowler is in Goblin Giant, Bowler is in E-Giant, Bowler is in Royal Giant, Bowler is in my son's kindergarten class, Bowler is in my wife's pickleball group. Like, it's just, he's everywhere right now. It's kind of too much.
And that's 2 games in a row where Mohamed Light did not play his win condition, which I thought was also pretty cool. I mean, that game you can't, you know, once that King Tower gets activated, you're basically game over. which is, again, maybe is Bowler the best to use in that deck? Bowler Loon Freeze, Bowler GY Freeze is a thing, but I guess with Fisherman being places, just a good matchup there for Lucas. So now we have Mo with 250, Lucas with 250, and then the other side of this that we haven't talked about as much, we mentioned it a little bit at the show, is that since no one is guaranteed any money, you know, you could walk away with $0, and we're hoping that that doesn't happen to anyone, but it might happen to someone.
Yeah, you just need one best of one win. That's all you need to take 250 home. But man, if you don't get it, what kind of day are you having? And speaking of having a kind of day, Igor, aka Hazard, out now. And this is a guy who people have asked me about him a fair bit this year. And Igor had a really interesting 2023 where he didn't play the first round of the first month of CRL. And then had a lot of Swiss pushes where he got 6 or 7 wins, and then had 1 month where he unfortunately had to, he got 3 wins and then had to bow out after those 3 wins. And it really feels like we could have seen Igor at World Finals this year had he been able to kick things off in month number 1 and had 1 or 2 things gone differently. So I'm really curious to see if we do see a real final return of Igor in 2024.
I would be so okay with that, man. That would be so cool to see Igor come back just for 1 season. Even if he doesn't win again, even if he doesn't go far, I would just love to see him at the highest level with an analyst, if he would listen to him, and just like doing the thing.
Well, I'm sure there are some analysts out there who might pick him up if it's the right moment and the right time. And I see Smurfblade talking, yes, Bowler does counter Little Prince and does counter Evo Recruits, which are kind of mercifully not as popular now as they were early on. Yeah, so Bowler does counter a lot of things in the meta, and it's also a tanky magic archer, essentially. So a little slowdown here.
Stop and stare here. I'm happy that Igor still decides to go to Mortar. This is the Mortar deck that I believe Mo was playing end of season. You always see decks and you're like, man, this looks so fun. There's a Mortar deck back in the mix. Let's try it out. And obviously those guys make it look a lot easier than it might actually be to play. But obviously, you know, you have some big spell bait aspects to this with the Skeleton Dragons. We talked so much about how much Skeleton Dragons can cause a problem if you don't have a good way to get to them. And then as you can see on the other side of the board, he's just piling up these bait units in front of the Little Prince, behind the Guardian. And that's kind of the thing. You just rinse and repeat, get those Evo Recruits out.
Interesting choice on Evo Recruits with, as we talk about it, how popular Bowler is right now.
Yeah.
Going Evo Recruits rather than the Evo Mortar or some other similar option. So we'll see when he chooses to get those in the mix. They do counter the Fisherman, right? So that there is definitely some utility to them. And this will be an interesting chess match between these two. And I gotta say, also a bit surprised here, Lucas has been railing against the Goblin Giant more than anyone. And maybe he has reached the school of if he can't beat him, join him. I guess when money's on the line, you know,
things change a little bit, right?
Yes, your stance might not be as strong.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, if you can't beat him, join him. If you're playing in a competition for money, I mean, you might as well bust him out. He's going for the double flying version here. We saw Hire use at World Finals a version like this, super strong. The Evo Bats actually found a place kind of in the meta, but it's really just in this deck, and it really has so much to do with how strong that Goblin Giant is. The fact that those bats can sit behind, take a spell, Goblin Giant's still alive somehow, the bats can come back into the mix. It's just because of the big old Gobby G, Shrek guy.
And I am shocked that Igor didn't prevent that Bowler damage. That, to me, is a real oversight here in a match that's going to be very difficult for him. Maybe he's assuming that he can shut down the defense here in the last 50 seconds and minor poison cycle. But that seems like some real unnecessary damage to take at this moment.
Yeah, agreed. And I think he's going to do exactly what we're talking about, which is why Lucas is going to turn up the pressure. He needs to get more bats, more minions involved up high, so that poison on top of tower like ends up being just like not a factor. That way the poison has to be used at the bridge. We'll see if Lucas can make him make those mistakes.
And here we go. Goblin Giant trying to get on the left-hand side. The poison will get to the Evo Bats, and you see the Goblins try to pick up the Miner in the safe spot, but no NATO, so no worries here for Igor. And I think he will be okay here. Has to mortar high, has to be a little bit careful, just not to let anything slide through. Lightning will open up some of the room, but with the spears not getting on tower, Igor able to hold on and take his first win here on Wednesday.
It's just so crazy at the end there. You see just like what a Goblin Giant at the bridge with minions behind and a rage can do. It's like Igor had to spend so much and use his little Prince ability and get a building out, and the lightning comes down, and they're basically even in elixir after that. So it's like, what's crazy is that if that just happened over and over and over, Igor would obviously lose the game. You know, you can't do that over and over, but it's still just the idea that you can just drop that tank at the bridge with support and a rage, and you're basically getting a positive trade with damage on tower is wild to me. Wild.
Absolutely crazy. And speaking of crazy, so far we've kind of seen how razor thin this day might be, as we have not had a true king yet. No one's gone back-to-back so far in this competition. Mohamed getting one, Lucas getting one, now Igor getting one. Faust up next in this competition. So we'll see if Igor can break the cycle, or if he continues to be part of this trend so far, this early trend of people not being able to hold the hill.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see Faust back out after World Finals. You know, Faust is a person that we talk about, like, this could be his like draft year, essentially, when you talk about like rookies coming into the league. Maybe 2024 is the year that he actually figures out how to put it together against the best in the world, because he's obviously one of the best. He made it there on leaderboard points. He was so consistent all year long, but we always talk about kind of that next level with Faust, and this level of competition is exactly who he needs to be practicing with, like, every single day. Right, he needs to be playing against this caliber of player every single day if he wants to get to that next level.
Well, I think a lot of the answer with Faust, I had a chance to talk with him a little bit after Worlds was over, and a lot of it is that he's never been able to commit fully to practice and preparation. Yeah, because he's so committed to his studies and so committed to school. You know, when he was younger, he used to have to hide playing Clash Royale from his parents, playing competitively. And I think that we're even seeing now that Faust is, like we've said many times, and it might be a broken record at this point, great against the B-tier competition and up and down against the A-tier competition. But I think that if we are able to see Faust in 2024 actually commit, it's not even about who he's playing against, it's more about, like, what are the number of hours you're putting in? How much time are you putting into macro development and to game planning and stuff like that? I think if we do see that in 2024, we could see a Faust with an even better performance than we saw in 2023. It's more just about, does he have the time? And with his studies beginning to wrap up, 2024 could be the year where the premise is finally paid off.
Yeah, and also if Faust was your doctor, you would feel pretty good about it. Like, if you walked in the room and he was like your 21-year-old doctor, you'd be like,
sure,
what? All right, whatever, I'm cool with this, because he's just that guy. I love him. He was so confident, such a good dude, really level-headed, and like you said, it just feels like if he had a little bit more time to commit to it, he could just be up in that S tier. I see here in the chat people asking questions about how do you qualify, and there was another one, is Mo Line eliminated? So first of all, you cannot qualify anymore. This is the last event of the year, but this is King of the Hill, King of Kings edition. So basically it was all the people that participated in King of the Hill throughout the year, the people that were the most successful, the 8 players with the best records of all those King of the Hill. So like I said before, join in the Royal Masters Discord and Twitter, all those good places, and they always post all their competitions. They're always very good at being in communication with you guys. And then the other question that they were asking about was Mohamed Light. Did he get eliminated? No, he did not. No one gets eliminated technically till we're on our last run, run of 8 players. As you guys can see, match 3 of 24. We take a break every 8 matches. There's 8 players. Once you lose, you go to the back of the line. So if you win a couple, you might not be seen for a little while. So Mo won 1, so he was technically like 1 farther down in that lineup. But he'll be back. Obviously, everyone will be back still. It's still very early on the day. We have 3 different winners in Mo, Lucas, and Igor. Igor currently sits on top of the hill, and like you said, we'll be facing Faust next, then Adnan, then Ruben, then Aslan, and then I think Doom will be up after that. But right now, just waiting on the players as we are ready to get going.
Yeah, I'm taking a look in the clan right now, and I currently don't see Faust in the clan at the moment. So I'm getting word from someone in the Twitch chat saying, yeah, he's not showing up. So he might be getting replaced with the first person on the standby list, which would be Adriel. So we'll see if that actually happens. We'll give it another minute here. So yes,
that'd be cool.
To reiterate from Andrew, once you lose, you go to the back of the line, and then we cycle through a whole bunch. So you'll be seeing all these players a couple of times a day. And just to clarify as well, this is the championship for Royale Masters.
Yeah.
So throughout the year, we had multiple of these Royale Masters King of the Hill events that had open qualifiers. Also, the Royale Masters Traditional, there's multiple different offerings of different formats. All of them had open qualifiers. Once you get to this phase where we're on screen, you can't qualify anymore. The qualifying's already happened. But there's lots of opportunities and different ways for you to get in there. So I do see someone saying, bro, Molite has to be washed, which is always funny when someone says that for like a BO1. But this kind of brings up an interesting conversation I've been having a lot on my channel, Andrew. And we didn't talk about it a lot during World Finals. But one thing I noticed since the addition of Evolutions, and I'm wondering if this will change as more Evos come in and there are more Evos that counter Evos, is that when Evolutions came in, most of the top players saw a drop in win rate, somewhere between ranging from 7% win rate drop to like 15% win rate drop. And then most of the second tier players we saw have kind of a rise in win rate. And it seems so far that the number one thing that Evos have done is kind of lowered, closed the skill gap maybe, or lowered the, or increased, I don't know if it increased or decreased variance is the best way to put it. But that's kind of my hope, is we have a big, robust schedule of Evos being introduced this next year. And what I'm hoping is that those Evos balance each other out and we're able to return to a more diverse meta that also rewards some of that higher level gameplay that we know.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about who got better with Evos, it was literally just like Samuel Basoto out of all the world finalists, and the rest of them started to struggle a little bit more with keeping up that high win rate, whereas his just went through the roof after it happened. And yeah, man, it's so hard because, right, you hear about all these things that are coming into the game, and, you know, with towers and with other Evos and how often they want to release Evos. And it becomes like a really difficult thing. Like you talk about just being a casual person trying to keep up with it, but then talking about being competitive at the highest level with it, it is really, really interesting to figure out like how that is going to continue to shape the meta and how that's going to continue to affect the best in the world.
Ghost gonna get a couple of shots here. Faust has to eat some damage and just get it off the board with the Phoenix. And
Bowler showed up in every game so far.
Shocker.
Shocker.
Real Giant for a couple. I wonder if Igor's going to find a good... Oh, I guess there he goes. Just throws the Mega Knight just to defend the archers and force Faust to make some responses. And that puts the bowler to the outside. This is actually great for Igor. Fisherman has to go low here. I think that Faust can still get a King Tower activation there. That's actually a really nice, knowledgeable King Tower activation. But you see, the problem is he spends the money on that, spends the elixir on that one, and the check gets cashed by Igor with the Mega Knight lead.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like an elixir situation there for Faust. It was just like a decision-making situation where he wasn't sure what to do. Probably by the time he recognized where his cycle was at, that E-Spirit was just a second late. So now going to have to switch lanes. Is Igor very happy to turn up the heat here on the left-hand side? I mean, defending this RG will be like a little bit... Like, he'll take a little bit of damage because a lot of his DPS troops, but he still has bats, and those bats are going to do such a good job.
Yeah, but look at this. That Fish Boy's not going to get the Hog Rider because the Archer was already out there for the targeting. And this is just going from bad to worse for Faust. Igor looking like he's going to be the first person to maintain control of the hill today, as Faust was kind of late on the Mega Knight pickup there.
I think I don't think he had a good option, so he's just like, all right, I'll take the damage on the right-hand side. I'm going to lose the left-hand tower, and now maybe these goblins can do something, but he's back to Mega Knight again. And yeah, Igor doing Igor things, just making it look really, really easy through these couple game wins. And we weren't sure if Faust was going to be joining us. Very happy that he's here, so we should be able to move into the next game just a little bit more quickly for those impatient people in the chat. There's usually always at least one, Rich.
Oh, there's always one here. And I did see Miguel Zarate asking, what's the point of this? I already replied to the chat, what's the point of anything?
Yeah.
If you're really going to ask that question. But there's $6,000 on the line. These players are playing for $250 per win. So that's not too bad for a game of Clash Royale. And, of course, the chance to be called the King of the Hill 2023 champion after all the work they've put in. So some accolades, some money, and, of course, the good memories of playing Clash Royale on a live stream.
The King of Kings. I mean, when you're talking about this lineup, the other 7 players you're going up against and the other people that, like, tried to qualify throughout the year, it ends up being pretty big bragging rights. I mean, so many of these competitions do. I mean, there's like a handful now, it feels like, on the year. There's maybe like 6 or so that aren't CRL that feel like every single one, winning one of those is just absolutely massive. And this is one of them.
It's fun, it's different, and the stress of trying to maintain that position on the hill. So far, Igor, our best on the day with 2 in a row. Of course, we're only in our 5th match of the day, so we'll see where it goes. And CRL World Finalist top 6 this year, which I think is a really nice performance for Ruben, a guy who people have been unfairly critical of, in my opinion, in the last couple of years. Top 6 finish at Worlds out here against the world champion from the year before. This is a champion versus champion matchup, 2019 versus 2020.
Yeah, this is a world champion matchup here. A lot of people say that, you know, Igor was kind of the MVP of that world finals. Others might argue it was Surgical Goblin, but what Igor did in 2019 was nothing short of astounding.
And Ruben, of course, the 2020 MVP. This is a world finals champion MVP versus MVP matchup, even better.
As it seems they must both be going a little bit heavy. See Ruben get the snowball out early. Which could be Balloon, could be Graveyard. Usually don't see Snowball as much with Goblin Giant, but hey, I'm not going to count it out.
Well, Ruben, as of late, has been playing some Ram Rider with Snowball, MK Ram Rider. So that could be the direction he's going in. Relatively heavy.
Yeah, that makes more sense, honestly.
And then here goes Goblin Giant, and there's the Mega Knight. So most likely that's the matchup we're seeing here.
Yeah, I don't dislike this matchup. I think there's a lot of good ways to slow and stop this Goblin Giant, get some good damage on top of it. As you can see here, piling up units, and then you get a really, really nice counter push.
What's the Little Prince play rate been today? I need to go ahead and take a look at the battles we've had so far.
It's been a good amount. I'd say at least, what, like 60% of the matches?
Oh, our last game featured no Little Prince. I didn't even realize that. That was pleasant. The game before that, only on one side. The game before that, both players.
And that Ram Rider, nice connection there, but a good counter push here coming back for Igor.
He has a lot to contend with here, and the Ghost will get there in time for the Mega Knight, which is pretty huge. But it's also going to die, and then there's a Rage. His MK comes out, and the Goblin Giant, the Rage, and I think that this is one of the biggest things, right? We talk about the Goblin Giant quite a lot because, well, it's the Goblin Giant. But there were 3 buffs this year to the Goblin Giant, and I think they were kind of quiet buffs. And I think the biggest impact here, yes, the Goblin Giant got 6% HP buff back in August, but the 2 that were earlier, the Spear Goblin's range being increased by half a tile, and the Spear Goblin's attack speed going from 1.7 seconds to 1.5 seconds in the backpack. Those 2 things, and we see the big win here by Igor.
Yeah.
We saw how much damage those Spear Goblins did. The HP buff is a significant issue, but I think the Spear Goblins are the real... You see, when the Spear Goblins don't get picked up and when they get on tower, the immediate devastation, especially when combined with the Rage, and we saw that here. They target farther and they attack faster, and that combination is absolutely devastating.
They need to figure out a way to affect the Goblin Giant spears without changing Spear Goblins. Because regular old Spear Goblins, they're very strong, but because they're so easily dealt with, I don't think they need to be changed. I'm happy with Spear Goblins having the speed and the damage and the range and all that they have. I think the biggest thing is that, like, on the back of the Goblin Giant, how do we nerf them? And I know it's like a coding thing to be able to affect one and not the other, because then they drop Spear Goblins. So it's like, that's part of the problem. And then I think the other biggest part of the problem is, like, it's almost the speed, but it really, I guess, just comes down to the health. So if you're able to reduce the attack speed and reduce the health, I think that's probably the best way to affect the Goblin Giant, maybe without it being nerfed into oblivion. I always hate when something gets nerfed and then it's just gone. Like, I would love for Goblin Giant to stick around the meta, just not the way that it dominates the meta and not the way that it controls the meta. As long as it's, like, still in it, like, yes, I always hate playing against Sparky, but honestly, up until recently, I would only see a Sparky game like once every like 15 games or something like that, you know? And I'm okay with that. The problem is right now, I think it's just because of how dominant it is. I mean, you even watch Igor play, and yes, he's an incredibly talented player, but it's just like, it's so odd to watch him play this game. This is never the game that he's played over the years and years of watching him.
Yeah. And Smurf played with a really good point here that he said, I think they confirmed the backpack spears are independent from actual spear goblins. And I don't know how independent they are once they drop, but when they're in the backpack, you know, talking about those balance changes, the increased attack speed was just for the backpack spear goblins. So if I'm looking at the balance changes right now, the spear goblins, the normal 2 electric spear goblins, didn't have a change in attack speed, but the backpack ones had their attack interval reduced from 1.7 seconds to 1.5 seconds. So that's a really interesting, man, how many times have you seen 3 buffs to a card in 1 year? That is quite a lot.
Especially because, again, like now, and I guess I'm learning this now, is that like they're separate of the regular spear goblins. So it's like, why continue to just buff this card until it broke the game and then not even affect the other cards that's actually involved in it? It's definitely one of the question marks out there in the world, but it is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. We know the nerf will come one day. I just don't know when it will.
I think I know why. I think I know why they did it. I saw so many complaints in my chats when I was streaming this year of how boring it was that Mohamed Light kept winning everything. And they were like, we need to do something crazy. And so they buffed the Goblin Giant into the stratosphere just to create the possibility. And hey, it worked. Mohamed Light wasn't the world champion this year.
Yeah. And what was the first game that Air Surfer ran, right? Wasn't it Goblin Giant Bowler? Like Lightning, right? You know, you make him play the game that is not his game to play, and trying to adjust it. I mean, look, I love having a lot of the best players in the world on my friends list, and I love when they play quick cycle decks, because you watch how difficult it is even for the best players in the world to play those hog cycles or those minor poison controls against lesser players running these beatdown decks. It is so difficult to defend. I mean, it's always incredibly impressive, but you talk about someone that has like kind of made his career off of being an incredibly efficient and cheap defensive player in Mohamed Light, and then turning that into counter pushes. It really just, the cards right now in the meta just don't really kind of, they don't help that playstyle out.
Well, here we go. Let's jump into our next game. Trainer Adnan now on the board, coming off of his phenomenal performance at DreamHack back in November, getting first place in Barcelona. And I think that was his live on-stage event debut.
Right.
So let's see if he can continue the rhythm here against Igor, who is currently 3 wins in a row.
Yeah, and I actually really like what Igor is doing here. When you talk about the cards, he's leaning into what is in the meta and like what counters the meta. Obviously, you're going to play, you know, archers and little prince and stuff, but I like that we've seen more MK and regular prince. I like that we're seeing monk here. So yeah, it's good to see Igor just like not quite doing only what he wants.
I did see someone talking about the Mega Knight need. I see someone saying Mega Knight needs a nerf, and I see someone else saying Mega Knight needs a buff. You know, I love all the back and forth. You know, it was interesting. I think it's kind of a quiet change that people didn't talk about it very much. Mega Knight in 2022 had its spawn damage decreased, but then had its jump time decreased as well from 1.1 seconds to 0.9 seconds, which turned it from a defensive card that I think that, you know, a lot of players were like, I hate it when I drop 15 elixir in one lane and then a Mega Knight cleans it up, which I had very little sympathy for that argument. But then they turned it into a much more offensive card. That 0.2 second differential means a lot of people miss Mega Knight pickups like we saw Faust in that last game much more frequently.
That's a great point that you make, because that 0.2 seconds when you play this game, and like especially a card like Mega Knight that's been around for such a long time, you've gotten used to the interactions. I still miss that pull sometimes, and I'm always like, what? How did I miss that? I've been playing this game for 7 years. Why am I missing that? But it's really interesting when you talk about that 0.2 change. You see Faust, it happens to Faust, which means it can happen to anybody.
And you see, speaking of missing, Igor trying to play more conservatively, but could have played that Fisherman a tile lower to make sure he could get the Bowler King Tower activation. Of course, it's not as impactful against Royal Giant, but when we get to those later stages and you're trying to pull Royal Giants to the middle to prevent as much damage, that King Tower could be an impactful piece of this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially because, you know, Adnan's going to have to clean up his defenses by taking as little damage as possible, being this far behind, and not a mirror matchup, but obviously a lot of the same cards. And then you talk about his opponent having the bats. Bats are getting a lot of value, so that E-Spirit always has to be ready. Doesn't have a great way to get on top of these archers. There you go, archers can get lightning off the board. And then the Monk. The Monk is a great counter to the Little Prince and the Bowler. So Adnan definitely having his work cut out for him, but that was a beautiful, beautiful send.
And a barrel that was with the mistimed Monk, I think, trying to reflexively hit that Monk and get the reversal on the bar barrel. But you know, you really can't make reactive Monk ability plays. That's one of the things that kind of keeps it in check. And now we have an Evo Royal Giant. This Monk needs to push this Royal Giant back a little bit.
Oh, but he's using the ability.
Oh, wow! How did that ability reflect? I didn't know.
It was the bowler shots, and then maybe, I don't know if the ground damage? I don't think the ground damage got reflected, did it?
I thought that the Monk only reflected the Royal Giant shots when it was next to the tower, not when it was next to the Royal Giant. I'm very confused right now. And I know it's like, Rich, you're a caster, you should know this one. I don't know if I've ever seen that interaction, really, the way that happened just there.
Yeah. That's fascinating because, we'll go back and look at the replay, but yeah, the Bowler shots get reflected and the Royal Giant shots get reflected.
The Evo Archer's too close to this Royal Giant, and this is where that, you know, he's going to get the stun from the Fisherman pulling, but not in time. Adnan takes the win.
Nice.
And GG, well played. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that, that interaction with the Monk. In a replay here in a minute, because that was fascinating. And I know we have resident expert Smurfblade in the chat. Maybe he can give us a little insight as to what we just saw here. Because I swear that I've cast, I mean, I have no idea how many matches I've cast where you have a Monk and a Royal Giant together. Also, Monk reflection blocks projectiles in its path. Like I've seen it reflect expo shots despite it being locked onto tower. I've never seen it reflects things that are in its path even when it's not targeted. Is that?
I've never. I guess Royal Giant hasn't been. This doesn't make sense. How do we not know this?
Yeah, my brain is kind of breaking here.
We have cast hundreds, thousands of hours of Clash Royale, and obviously not hundreds of thousands since the Monk has been added. But like, we've seen the Monk meta and we've seen the Monk RG meta, and yeah, that's wild, man. Yeah, if we go back to the replay, Tasty, if you look at the tower HP, it sits at 1327 the whole time, which is really crazy. So everyone watch, everyone shut up and watch. Tell me what happened here. So there you go, well, RG and Bowler, right?
Yeah.
Monk immediately, and then he pops the ability right there. Beautiful slowdown there, and look at the tower damage. And look at the damage the RG is taking.
Why is this not the primary method that you use to defend RGs? Like, if that's the case, why didn't he do it again? Like, I would not have been trying to push RG the opposite lane. Once that tower was in danger, I would have been sitting on Monks in front of the RG and doing that every time. Right? Why is that? Yeah, so that's interesting. I see a lot of people in the chat saying, hey, I've seen this before. Then we've seen Monk versus RG so much. That seems like a game-saving, matchup-changing choice that you could just shut down Royal Giants.
You just play Monk at the bridge over and over, and then it knocks the RG back, and then the moment the RG shoots, then you activate the ability. Is it only Evo'd RG? Is that a thing? Because that feels like something that would be less hard for us to have tracked. Like, how many times have we seen a monk use an ability on top of an evoed RG? But yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm looking at the YouTube chat, and there's not really a lot of responses on like what happened there. So anyway,
he also did it earlier in the game, says Zayd. You know, I mean, I've never seen, and I guess I need to try this now. I've never seen what happens when a magic archer is attacking something else, and then the monk walks in the path and does the ability, and how that I've never seen that. So I'm gonna go try that out now, just like with 2 accounts, and see what that's.
He says one more thing is that the Evo RG specifically has a larger projectile and a very slight area of effect, so that's why it's more noticeable there.
Interesting.
Huh? Yeah, really interesting there. I'm excited for you to clip that out and then to see the discussion on Twitter.
Again, it's just one of the things that's crazy to me, where we have seen so much monk against RG, and have not seen that as a method of stopping critical Royal Giant damage in hundreds upon hundreds of games. Yeah. So that's
not an exaggeration at all.
Yeah, maybe it's we're not Royal Giant players. I don't know, but that is crazy. No, but I had a whole season where I played just Royal Giant and never encountered that.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think, is it just the Evoed RG? You know, because of what Smurfblade's talking about with like the improve, or like the larger projectile and the area of effect. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that we're both in this same boat on this one, to where we both are just shocked. So anyway, one person that's not shocked is Trainer Adnan, who probably has seen that before, gets through it, breaks through, beats Igor, comes with, come from behind win, as we were all so distracted. And against Aslan, our 8th seed, we've made it all the way through. So we'll be taking a very short break here in just a little bit. But first, can we get another back-to-back winner? What just happened?
So let's see. Oh, I'm looking. Here I am on Clash Royale Wiki. Even though the Royal Giant cannot target the monk, his projectiles can still be reflected back, provided the monk is placed close to the Royal Giant. The Royal Giant will take major damage from his own attacks this way. So that's interesting. But kills the RG, but I guess it only works if the monk is close enough to the RG.
Right on top of him, yeah.
That's interesting. Fascinating. And
it's been a thing for a long time, what Incaster's talking about.
Yeah, Smurfblade saying it's fair to never have seen it because 99% of the time you want that monk to push back the RG. Igor only did it there to reflect the bowler, and that was a side effect.
Yeah,
and that makes sense, right?
The way that you normally play the monk is you play it on top and it'll get the pushback in, but he didn't even let it attack. He just dropped it right on top and then used the ability. So, all right, good to know. Good to know.
What are you casters even talking about? Dude, I mean, literally, between CRL and then casting GKR, casting the...
I don't need to qualify myself to you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Casting so much this year and just having never seen it is wild. But hey, that's why this game is still great.
And then also the previous 6 years of our lives, but whatever. Have you seen us play the game? I mean, come on. Give us a break.
Give us a break here. Bowler here into the Little Prince side. And Rodham saying Little Prince's ability should charge direction is facing, not always straight. And apparently, there was some discussion about this. This was tested, actually, during the development phase of Little Prince. And they found that it was too kind of unpredictable and confusing. So they decided to make it always go straight instead.
Yeah, I prefer the always go straight thing. You really have to think about where you want to place your Little Prince, especially if you're going to use it to push back a tank after it's going to go on its path, right? If it's going to go towards the building in the middle, you got to think about placing your Little Prince on the inside to get that pushback late. So I don't know. I really like the Little Prince ability.
Bowler doing a good job of shutting things down here for Aslan. And this is interesting seeing P.E.K.K.A bridge spam, and
it's been popular.
Well, I mean, look, you're playing against Goblin Giant, you're playing against E-Giant. The meta was so anti-P.E.K.K.A for being so swarm-related for so long, but now that you're playing, you're seeing Bowler E-Giant, Bowler Gob Giant, Bowler Royal Giant, as long as you can protect the P.E.K.K.A from Fisherman pulls, suddenly you have certainly more opportunity for P.E.K.K.A to be impactful in a match.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing more and more P.E.K.K.A bridge spam. It hasn't been this exact version, I don't think, with the Rage and the Fireball. I think I've seen more of, Zap Fireball. But yeah, she's definitely, back in the meta because of exactly what you're talking about. I mean, she does light work of Goblin Giants, Bowlers, E-Giants, all that stuff. And then you talk about being able to get on top of those archers. All you need is that fireball. Really, I mean, it's probably great for people like Adnan, who is known as being a very good bridge spam player.
Great connection on the right-hand side. I might want to pull that for later, assuming that Adnan does get the win here, as he's been shutting things down nicely. But this is the big danger here. Fisherman gets pulled, but look at that. The Evo Archers behind, and the P.E.K.K.A. pull by the Fisherman does not end up ruining the defense as we go into the final minute. 9:02 to 18:34 lead for Trainer Adnan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem with P.E.K.K.A., like you said, for so long was just like we were in a swarm meta. She's so easy to control. But I think the idea now is that she's not really a win condition. She's just like take care of the big green guy, take care of the E-Giant, and then see what happens with her. Whereas I feel like before, maybe people relied on her just a little bit more than they, wow, and that's just a beautiful connection there on the right-hand side. People maybe relied on her a little bit more as like being that tank that you needed to get units behind or whatever. But with the Evo Archers and with the little Prince and, you know, the Battle Ram having, I mean, Battle Ram's still a very bad win condition right now in the meta, but like all these other ways to get on top of tower, that P.E.K.K.A. is literally just to kill Bowlers, Goblin Giants, and E-Giants. That's all you need out of her.
And a nice little two-piece here by Adnan to get us to the end of our first round of competition here, where he got the RG Bowler in his first game against Igor, and then puts Aslan down with a newer variation of P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam. So very, very cool to see Adnan come out hot, and he will. Let's go take a look at one of the big moments from this one. I think it's the one that I called for earlier, where he got his first big breakthrough and did about 2,000 damage. So here you see pretty low on elixir, but the P.E.K.K.A. here is just controlling in the middle. You see the Bowler go to the left-hand lane, and once this Ghost comes down, Bowler's out of cycle. Fishboy gets distracted by the, look at that beautiful play with the Bandit at the bridge to distract the Fisherman, and then the Rage on top of all of that, and that is just a gut shot against Aslan by Trainer Adnan.
Well, it's just funny, like P.E.K.K.A. not that great. Battle Ram, one of the lowest win conditions in the game in terms of usage and win rate, but like when you watch someone that's really good with bridge spam, it's always a joy. Like the way that they sequence their pushes, like you're talking about, like because it is so well known, that's when you get the most exciting plays. When you play against a really good 2.6 player or a really good Expo player, you see those innovative next level plays because they're used to having to play through uphill battles, which is why I always love seeing Adnan being able to play bridge spam. He is so good at it. And I've talked about this all year long. I'm very curious if he'll actually commit in 2024 to like putting in that grind that you need to be top 1% in the world, because I think he has the skill for it. It's just about everything else coming into place.
Yeah, I mean, the commitment is certainly a big question for anybody, but we saw him do really well in Barcelona at DreamHack, taking number one there in really an exciting fashion. And, you know, we saw him kind of do some classic bridge spam play there. The waiting and then the taking the overwhelm moment when you have that 1 second to really push through. Just the general read there. Bowler gone. The Royal Ghost clears, Battle Ram to bait, and then the Fisherman play just a little high. You go ahead, get that with the Bandit. That was just choice gameplay. And now Adnan sends us back to the top. We have our final match coming up here of our first cycle of 8. We have 3 cycles of 8 that we go through here, and Doom coming up next, and Adnan with a chance to put himself kind of right up there with Igor on our leaderboards.
And the other thing that's really great about P.E.K.K.A., I mean, in general, when you play her and play bridge spam, this is like her usage, but especially in the meta that we're in right now, like you talk about what is her job, and it's not only just to take care of those tanks, but it's to make up for elixir deficits or to like gain elixir advantages, right? Because all those Goblin Giant, Bowler, Rage pushes, think about how much all those cost. And if you're able to stop it all with just one P.E.K.K.A., that leads exactly to what Rich is talking about, which is that huge overwhelm bridge spammy moment. If that Mama P.E.K.K.A. can just take out a Bowler and a Goblin Giant, you've already got a massive elixir advantage.
And here we go. Some maybe spammy direction coming out of Doom here, who's got the Ghost and the Bandit alongside those Evo Archers. Very, very close to giving up that mini P.E.K.K.A. connection on the left-hand lane. 7 elixir here to defend against this Little Pince Royal Giant push.
Yeah, and I don't know what he has, and there you go. Look at that beautiful timing.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about playing with it, playing against it. You know the best ways to respond, and that was just a choice fisherman from Adnan.
And I love the super snipe here from Adnan, who, you know, he's running Fisherman, Tombstone, Zappies, and the commonality and mini P.E.K.K.A, right? How common it is for the copy deck in a situation like this, and Adnan we saw it in the actual macro play in the previous game, and then in the deck picking here, where Adnan sets a trap and then springs a trap. Very nicely done.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. And the funny thing is you look at Doom and the way that he's played these 2 games that he's been in, and he's kind of been dominated, which is wild because he is so good at this game. And to see him like recognize that he's lost both of his games within the first like minute each, based off of like one great play from his opponent, it just really shows you how unforgiving Clash Royale is at the highest level.
So here we go, Doom trying to get a good setup here. I don't know how he breaks through the defensive wall that Adnan has here. He needs to get some really serious value out of these Evo Archers and hope that he can open up some room. And at the moment, he has one Evo Archer holding Bandit on the right-hand side. Can he get past his Tombstone? He does. And now look at that. Getting it in deep here. Mama P.E.K.K.A does go down. Evo Archer working on the right-hand side. This is exactly what Doom needed to do in order to have a shot in this matchup. The question is just, can he do it twice in a row?
And P.E.K.K.A at the bridge. I love this play, getting her right next to the tower. Now you have to have the ability come out from that Little Prince. I mean, Adnan is doing everything correctly here. And this is part of why Mama P.E.K.K.A isn't everywhere, is because she is so easy to control. I mean, you even get the Fish Boy to pull her right up to the tower. You get the Rage to come in. And yeah, Doom doing some really, really great stuff here, but it was all just on that one opening send. We'll see if Adnan can close things out. 787 to 1117, a much closer game than where we have been for many, many minutes.
Yeah, a little bit of knockback. I mean, the reality is that Dom needs to get back to Evo Archers again to have any real shot at a breakthrough. I don't know if he can do it in time to overcome the, oh boy, look at that. And now just fireball arrows.
Yeah, I mean, that Guardian wasn't even really tanking to the tower, but just the tower on top of that RG, not going to be enough. I think Mama P.E.K.K.A was distracted there, and just like you said, there's the fireball. Now we need the arrows. And Adnan tied, I think, for our most winning player on the day. Or is he at 4 now? I think, is it him and Igor are both at 3?
I think he's at 3 now. We'll see the leaderboard here in just a moment, and Adnan, I think he did a great job recognizing that as long as he didn't die on the Evo Archer push. Because after that, when Evo Archers aren't in cycle, trying to break through on the side of Doom is just almost impossible. Especially when that, you know, see Smurf saying P.E.K.K.A at the bridge too ambitious. Yeah, that was certainly an aggressive play, to say the least. But you can't, it's very difficult, nearly impossible for Dom to defend the Royal Giants there. And so just survive the one real dangerous push was the plan from Adnan, and then win it before he can get Evo Archers back out again. So very, very nicely played.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just got to get ahead of that Evo Archers push. I mean, we talked about this, I think, at World Finals. We were talking about how, like, when Firecrackers first started getting in the game as evolutions, you started to realize, like, oh, yeah, that's one thing I have to track. I think I inherently was, like, trying to avoid having to track the fact that, oh, how many Firecrackers they played? It's just not the way you play the game for so long. But as we saw with the Firecracker and how much it affected because of the damage that she used to do. I mean, still, she does so much, but the Archers now, it is crazy. It is crazy. Similar to with the Evo Barbs, but the counter push that you get, and also the elixir that you waste when you don't calculate that correctly, and you send a push in and they can clean the whole thing up for 3 elixir is really cool. I mean, I don't know if it quite falls in the same category as what you talked about with Evos, like changing the way you play the card, but the ability of the Archers now have become so massive compared to what they were before. Like, their ceiling is so high.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference, and our leaderboard is ready, so let's take a look at where we are after our first 8 rounds, and there you go. The wealth kind of sticking to the top here. Igor taking down $750 so far. Trainer Adnan, $750 as well. Mo and Lucas with $250. And everyone else so far still looking for that first win. And let's see if Dominic now has to go back to the back of the line. But Faust, Ruben, and Aslan will all be in the mix looking for their first win soon. Nobody out of the money running yet, but we are seeing a bit of a top-heavy situation so far. We'll see if that continues. We have our second set. Our next 8 matches coming to you in just a couple of minutes after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Royal Masters will be right back. Welcome back to Royale Masters King of the Hill, King of Kings Edition, where our 8 King of the Hill champions from the rest of the year duke it out for the biggest prize pool, $6,000, $250 per win. And Andrew, so far, we've had 2 players who have been phenomenal in terms of being King of the Hill.
Yeah, Igor started things off real hot. He was able to take out some big contenders early on, and then Adnan was able to close out the end of our lineup of 8 and then bring it back around to Doom. Doom has been out a couple times now, still has that goose egg, but remember, $250 per win. And as you can see there, a couple other competitors have picked up a win as well. But like you said, we kind of separated ourselves a little bit, our Adnan and Igor. But now we're back around. I think we got Mo coming up next, and we'll see if he can kind of get back on that winning track. He picked up one game and then started to struggle.
You know, I never thought of this before, but like Mo, the GOAT, Moat. Does that work? Is that something? Is that anything, Andrew? The Moat?
We'll come back to that one.
All right.
If we can figure out a way to equate him to the body of water that surrounds a castle, then I feel like we've really got something going for us.
Sure. Well, we'll see if the Moat can get Trainer Adnan out. Right now, the chance Adnan to become our King of the Hill leader with 4 wins, which would also be $1,000. Used to be that a grand, and previously a grand took you 10 wins. Only takes you 4 today. So we might have a few guys walking out with G's this beautiful Wednesday.
I mean, it's $2,000 every time we take a break, which is pretty cool. I was looking at the numbers adding up. It's, you know, if it's 6,000 on the day, every 8 matches, we're giving away $2 grand. And right now, Adnan and Igor are very, very happy with their showing. I mean, again, we always like joke around, but it's not really a joke when you talk about the pressure of a game when there's any money on the line, like even $20 on the line. I feel like I would play the best Clash Royale of my life. We're doing that times 10 and then some. Back around with the Moat, bottom of your screen. I can't believe I just did that. And Adnan at the top.
Evo Archers on both sides, different pictures. Oh no, sorry, Evo Archers, Evo Firecracker. It's always weird that the Firecracker and the Archers have the same hair.
Yeah, the other day I was using Royale API, and I was like, why are these decks showing me? And then I realized that I had Firecracker Evo selected instead of the Archers Evo. So in case you guys need anything else to make fun of us casters about.
And Smoke saying Moat in Arabic means death. So calling him the Death? That's even scarier than the Pharaoh. I think it's settled. The Moat.
Yeah. I don't know how his family will feel about that, but I'm sure we'll hear about it soon.
We'll find out
from all of them. As Mo.
Best.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say best name in the chat so far today. Average Fish Enjoyer. Which I don't know if that means you enjoy average fish or if you are the average person who enjoys fish. Asking,
I hope
just
it's
got
the
here.
Prior.
That it's you enjoy average fish.
Yeah.
I like a good tilapia. That's what I'm really all about here.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get some skate for dinner.
And the Ice Spirit, not banned, just the Evo, folks, does pull the Mini P.E.K.K.A into the middle. Some gobs to hold everything high here. Mohamed Light doing his best to hold up against Adnan, who appears to be running Graveyard. Now, the Giant Graveyard deck is the one that was that got 2 spots in the top 10 running Giant Graveyard with Dark Prince. I'm wondering why people are running Giant Bowler today as opposed to the Dark Prince version that was successful on Ranked.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe it's just because Bowler is better than Dark Prince right now, and then you have the Mini P.E.K.K.A to deal with, you know, anything else on the ground when you need strong DPS. You really are missing out on that splash damage, though. But I guess that's, again, where you use the Bowler. Let me just be honest. Bomber needs to be able to see air units, and that came from Slater saying Bomber Evo would be cool if they gave him the bouncing bomb that he has in Clash of Clans Builder Base. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of the bouncing bomb with the Bomber.
I use the Bomber in my Builder Base setup, so I feel you on that one.
I don't know what any of those words mean other than Bomber.
And
I'm an average man.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm an average man who loves average fish. You know what? I support you, and I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, you're my new favorite name in all of YouTube, so shout out to both you and Rich for noticing, and for you for just creating this wonderful name as a GY on his own King Tower here from Adnan.
Little misclick there out of Adnan, probably meant for the Giant, I'm assuming, behind that King Tower, maybe for a little Prince. Either way, he has plenty of Elixir, so he's still in it, but not really the graveyard placement that you practice.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I bet we see Mo go all in here, and he does on the right-hand lane. Hog back behind the King to push the Mighty Miner, and then now maybe he uses the ability. There we go, and then he can get a second Hog Rider out whenever he so chooses. But right now, I'm going to play a little bit of defense.
And Santiago saying why a bad Evo like Ice Spirit is banned, because new cards are always banned, typically for the first 2 weeks once they are released, banned from competitive play. So even though the Ice Spirit Evo not so good, because that evolution is new, the Ice Spirit totally fine to play, but the Evo not allowed in competitive play until there's a bit more time for it to settle.
Evo Mirror.
No.
I hate it. I would just love to see what the idea would be.
Yeah, I don't know. The Evo Mirror, when you mirror something, it mirrors it into its Evo. That'd be interesting. That'd be like a very, meta, and using the proper definition of the term meta, right?
Yeah, true. Yes, exactly. Adam Villalobos, they need a win condition champ that turns into a flyer when you activate it. I actually think that'd be cool. I like that.
Well, we have yet to have a win condition champion, so that's going to be interesting if that ever happens. Especially because it would be such a different vibe of win conditions. Having a win condition that you can only have one of on the board at a given time is so different than anything else.
As Perez says, shout out if you like fish. Hopefully we get a shout out from our favorite YouTube chat who likes average fish. But that game, I mean, it was a great game by Mo. It was a medium game by Adnan. Obviously, the graveyard behind King Tower wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but as you were pointing out, he still had the elixir. It was just really Mo was in so much control of that entire game. He's so fun to watch play Hog EQ or Hog Cycle. And he found himself in a good matchup, which is, that's kind of all you can hope for when you're playing Hog. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think we started to see so much more graveyard is obviously there's the ability to defend really well with those graveyard decks. There's the ability to get opposite lane pressure with just like a quick GY and Guardian or Bar Barrel. But then I think the other thing was like one of the reasons I started running GY was just like I was running into so much Royal Hogs and regular Hog that I just wanted to hard counter it. And it was wonderful.
Oh yeah, no, I played Splash Yard end of season this year because I was just tired of Hog Rider.
Yeah,
and I don't think Hog Riders. I don't think Hog is OP. I think Hog is just like the simplest win condition to learn, really. So that's why it's everywhere, and people level it up early and then stick to it. But I was kind of like, I just want a NATO, so I don't have to think about Hog Riders anymore. As a quick note here, Andrew, that win puts Mohamed Light at over $2,000. At $2,000 plus, he has won from King of the Hill competition this year. So
wow.
You add that to his approximate total winnings according to Liquipedia, which I don't know if they include this competition or not. I'll have to double check. Currently at $670,000 total winnings from Clash Royale competition.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So crazy. He is getting close to $750,000 won from Clash Royale.
And you know what? I don't see the King of the Hill Royale Masters Edition on this list, so add that in to his overall career winnings.
I like this deck that Lucas is running. I think Mo was running a version of this for a little while. I think the hardest thing about this deck is you don't really have a tank. At least normally you don't have a tank. And nice timing there and placement on the Ice Spirit. You rely so much on your... sorry, I was just going to say you rely so much on your Mortar and then the Guardian.
I was it's interesting to think of the difference in years. In 2020, Mohamed Light won approximately $1,200 playing Clash Royale. And then, of course, he followed that up with a really nice 2021 that included the $100,000 second place prize for CRL World Finals. And I think he ended up winning, I want to say about $150,000 overall throughout that year. And then, of course, he's continued to add to that with his successes upon successes.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible accolades there from Momo. And truly, I mean, when you talk about winnings, it's basically just like him and Mugi now, it feels like, because of Mugi's 2 world championships and how much money that actually is just in and of itself.
And getting a little update here from our producer. From Royale Masters competition overall this year, which includes the King of the Hill competitions, the Royale Masters Classic Duels competition, and our Summer Series, 12,850 won by Mohamed Light so far this year. So that's not included on that Liquipedia listing here, so getting very close to 700,000.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you just won 12,000, I feel like you'd be feeling pretty good. Not even including all the stuff he's done at CRL, which is monthly final after monthly final after monthly final. And as of right now, definitely struggling a little bit to get his RGs to break on through, as Lucas is doing a really good job with this mortar deck. Those minions are getting an insane amount of value every single time. There's no way for Mo to get on top of those minions other than Lightning or Little Prince, and that is not, neither of those are very great options.
Oh, this is interesting. Actually, Liquipedia has not updated any of the World Finals payouts yet. So Mo definitely going to be over 700,000, and then it also has not updated Mugi, who's now won the World Championship twice.
They haven't done any from like none of the year?
No, none of the payouts from this year are updated.
Just this year. Gotcha. Yeah, and again, these minions, it's just great job by Lucas recognizing what the X factor is for his deck, making it basically impossible for Mo to break through, and that lightning cycle cannot keep up with Mo's minor poison cycle. So, although that's a bad minor. Wow, and just like that, Mo takes the lead.
But Evo Royal Giant trying to find a little bit more of a lead here. Lightning and well-timed. I think he'll get 2, maybe 3 actually. 1 shot from the Evo Royal Giant. Nice Ice Spirit to slow things down. Gets 2, and those are 2 big ones, and Lucas has to give it up.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas just, like, his defense kind of fell apart, and now we're seeing what he needed to start doing is, like, getting those goblins a little bit lower, then getting the bar barrel out late. He was going minions every single time because of how much value they were getting, but then you just saw Mo go, all right, then I can drop the Little Prince right behind that Royal Giant, clean up the minions, and then Lucas has no ability to do opposite lane pressure because there's a bar barrel there for the goblins. So just maybe needing to think a little bit more about how he was going to get damage on tower and varying up that defense.
And there you go. Mo going to move to 3 wins on the day and join some of our tops up there with the big money so far.
Yep.
GG
and
well played, Mo.
Curtis, I'm sorry, but I do believe you be tripping.
Yes. Yeah, seeing that in the chat. Why does my elixir go to slow down when someone else... your elixir does not slow down when someone else is playing cards.
Dude, that same bug has been happening to me for 7 years, and I'm telling you, that is why I am not where I need to be in this game. Every time the person I'm playing against drops a bunch of units, my elixir stops.
I had someone come into my chat yesterday who did the usual, I'm better than all these guys, give me a chance. And Smurfblade quite valiantly said, hey, I'll 1v1 you a whole bunch, and played him like 7 1v1 games, let the guy choose the matchups, did mirror matchups, and the guy was accusing him of hacking the whole time. Like, why do you have so much more elixir than me? And Smurf is very simply explaining, like, well, because I defend cheaply and you overspend into bad pushes. So, guys, it says it at the bottom of your game when it gives those little tips and advices. Elixir management is the key to victory. It's Clash Royale 101. Managing your elixir effectively is the key to victory. So, if you're having trouble with this game, if it feels like your opponent always has 15 more elixir than you do, or your elixir is moving more slowly or whatever it is, sorry to say, skill issue. Manage your elixir more efficiently. Now, I'll be first to admit, often my problem. Yep, I often also have the same problem.
Yeah, Curtis, this is all said with love, because this is we feel you. we understand what that feels like. But yeah, I think
the game ain't rigged.
The game ain't rigged, exactly. And that is one of the best things about Clash Royale, is that you never have to worry about your opponent hacking. Now, that is one of the worst things also about Clash Royale, because then it just comes down to your decision making. Yeah. But that's why we are here talking about these guys playing instead of us playing, Juicy is pretty much the only one of us now of the CRL casters that is actually viable in a competition. As much as I love AC, Juicy is the only one that is still putting in the practice and the time.
Yeah, things change over time.
Yep.
And a little tombstone to open things up here for Mohamed Light, who looking Royal Giant-ish as the Phoenix. It could be E-Giant as well, but the Phoenix has replaced the Mother Witch in some Royal Giant constructions. We've seen Mo play it too.
That's a great call out. Why? Why is the Phoenix in there instead of the Mother Witch? And so much of it, again, it just has to do with that Goblin Giant. You're not getting a lot of targets in those Goblin Giant decks for Mother Witch to be out there. What do you always need more of when you're going up against Goblin Giant? Well, it's single target DPS. And also you have just a slight bit of bait aspect with that Phoenix egg once you get it to the other side of the river.
And Lightning Bowler makes it feel like it's more likely to be E-Giant here. We'll see if that holds. But the rest of the cards coming out after the first two have us leaning towards the big electrified fella.
I can just admit that Clash Royale has the best ever anti-cheat I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like, what would cheating even look like in this game? I guess if your elixir was able to flow a little more quickly, but otherwise, I guess maybe seeing what's in hand of your opponent at all times. I'm just giving these people ideas.
If somehow you were able to, you're able to choose your deck after the matchmaking happened.
Yeah, like you see their deck and then you get to change yours. I know one streamer and player that would be excited about that. I won't say any names.
Fishboy gonna get sniped here by the archers, but not gonna be too consequential. The bird behind the tombstone to work on the bowler. NATO to King Tower does work, and that is going to be pretty important here in DPSing down these Goblin Giants as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when you talk about like how much that bowler did for Faust and cleaning up that tombstone, clearing the path, distracting the units up high. I was very curious to see how Mo was going to be able to defend out, and a great King Tower activation there. So we see Evo Archers from both sides, but the Evo Archers of Mo is just not quite doing as much.
1851 to 2764. Bowler on the right-hand side. Mo chooses to... I don't know if he meant to not pick that up. I think he maybe got a little slow there. I do know, and I'm not going to make any excuses for gameplay, but Egypt featured, had a countrywide internet blackout yesterday. I don't know, and we delayed a little bit more this morning. If you saw, we're here when we first kicked things off, there was a delay in starting because of Mo's internet. So I don't want to say that's the reason why that bowler didn't pick up, but just want to put that into the ether, as it has been a factor this week.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same thing with that bowler. Like, did he play it low on purpose? Was it a misclick, or was it because he was like worried about the Evo Archer coming across the bridge? And like, obviously, I don't know the answer, as we see good damage coming in here from Faust. But that is something that I've noticed when I'm playing, is that I am scared to place buildings sometimes when I know that Evo Archers are in cycle, or I'm scared to defend like the way that I normally would, because they'll just get sniped off the board. And again, that's just the power of those Evo Archers and how much they can change everything. You see right there, just lightning on top of a tombstone and two archers is something that we would have never said before those Evos came into the game.
Yeah, even trade though, 6 for 6, so it's not a bad trade. And now Mo, with his chance to do something opposite direction. I think he has NATO. He chooses to pull the Evo Archers in, but the Phoenix Egg doesn't get them, and they don't get into the Electro Giant range. Still almost evened up, 45 seconds left, 1394 to 1412.
We've been saying this for years. We need an Andrew versus Rich gameplay. We value our friendship too much to ever play each other in Clash Royale.
Also, I don't feel like getting creamed. That's the other half of it. 1077.
Rich's YouTube videos, and then you can come laugh at me stream on Twitch when I do play Clash, since I have been playing more of it on stream lately. It still hurts just as bad as it did years ago every time I lose, as we see that ability come in and save just a little bit here for Faust. But that lightning battle going to go in favor of the Moat himself.
And there you go, the Moat, I love hearing it, gets the win and stays as our king of the hill.
Yeah, it puts him up to, I think, 4 now? Does that sound about right? Which is, again,
I think that's right.
You talk about the money that he's won just from Royale Masters this year is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, he's yeah, like, you look at that and you'd say that's a great year, and then you add in the rest of the money, you're like, oh, that's a really, really great.
Our producer's saying, one of these days, I'll bait you guys into a game for a test, in quotes, and secretly record it. Well, Tasty, we know how to find you.
I think the only video up there of me in a show match is it was actually not planned. It was randomly done, but back in the day, CWA came into one of my streams, and we decided to do a random best of 5, and I put it up. It's on my channel. It's Schmo versus Schmo is the title of it, and I did end up getting the win there on that one. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of Rich Slayton competitive gameplay out there for good reason. But I did get that win in the Schmo versus Schmo, me versus CWA.
I remember, oh man, was it just at the old studios? Oh, excuse me. Or was it 2019 World Finals? I can't remember, but we all kind of went up. It might have been at the 2019 World Finals where we all went up on the towers, you know, individually. Do you remember this? And we played games just on the towers.
Oh,
just like regular ladder games, just on our own, not even against anyone else. And it was just being, yes, dude, it was nerve-wracking. Just being up on the tower, no crowd, no one commentating, nothing on the line, but just the idea of being on that stage while playing Clash Royale. It was crazy how much it changed. Just like like you said, it was absolutely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's very different playing when there's human beings involved. I also hate, you know, like people ask for my friend link, and I'm like, no, I don't need you throwing eyeballs into my matches. But yeah, playing. I mean, there's so many things you think about, right? Just playing in an environment that you're not used to. For a lot of people, playing standing up, right? You're so used to playing sitting down and playing comfortably. Playing standing up is such a change, such a weird. I don't think they had one this year, but in the past, they've had practice podiums in the player holding center during CRL for players to practice what it feels like to be playing at the podium, as opposed to playing from the couch.
Which matters. It really does. I mean, you know, we talked about Arden and like how good he is. He's an S-tier competitor online. Can he finally do it in person? Same with Pandora. And then you see both of them finally being able to put it together in person. You could tell that they just seemed a lot more confident than they did in 2022, being in the same place as they were at in 2023, being on that same stage, even if it looked different. So here we go. 2 world champions battling once again. Both were in the 2023 World Finals.
And another money note, as we're talking about, Mo Light has now hit $1,000 on the day. The only second time someone has made $1,000 in a single day of Royale Masters. The other person to do that, also Mohamed Light.
Angela, did I miss anything? I've only just got on. I came back from surgery. Sorry. It's all right. Don't apologize. We will forgive you since you got here at least halfway through our day.
And we wish you a speedy recovery.
Oh, yeah, that too.
That too.
Mainly that.
We hope that the full facial replacement to help you escape from whatever crime you committed was successful and has no complications. Good luck in whatever non-extradition country you fled to.
And we're glad that you've tuned in to Royale Masters from wherever you are. An interesting rage there from Ruben. I was like, oh, that rage kind of misses. He gets the skeletons, but he doesn't hit the Goblin Giant. But what it did do was rage out that NK. So the Goblin Giant, I think he knew was going to get pulled to tower, to King Tower there with the NATO, but the MK gets a little bit of that rage and is able to get that jump on that right-hand tower, giving him a nice 700 HP lead.
And here we go. Mega Knight going to take a bit of damage there from the Evo Archer, not too much. E-Giant will get in front of the Tombstone. That's actually very nice for Mohamed, as Fishboy will get controlled in the back. And I don't even think this push is really about connecting at the moment. It's about trying to establish the opportunity, but he still might get a little bit here.
Yeah, and I love this. I love that play. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was so well called by you and so well drawn up by Mo. I think we could all kind of feel it happening, and then Ruben just doesn't have any other option than to play that Fisherman to defend, and then that just sets up the next E-Giant push, which then begins this like cascading downhill effect that he's going to find himself in for at least, I mean, maybe now he's finally out of it, but he was in it for about 30 seconds.
And here we go. E-Giant with a quarter health bowler behind. Archer, oh, that's
Wow.
able to get that timing just right on the Fisherman, because again, if that Fisherman gets his feet set, that's a broken NATO. And lots of damage. Evo Archer's now in. Here's an opportunity for Ruben, but I don't think he can make much of it.
And Angela, once again, I said it went well. I can't believe you guys read my message. It's the first time YouTubers are reading my message. Well, look at you. Look at us. Look at us all experiencing this together.
We're all
Ruben,
here.
yeah, as Ruben is trying to break on through. That lightning protection there from the bowler coming down protects one of the archers. That's actually a pretty good play by Mo.
Yeah, he does that sometimes. He's done one or two good plays over his career. Fisherman gonna get distracted for a second by all these skellies. Gets a good bowler to keep the Fisherman's attention. Now Fisherman at the bridge.
Yeah.
NATO pulls it all together and able to keep the Electro Giant away, but with that lightning in, it's do or die right now for Ruben, and my suspicion is it's a lot more die than do.
Yeah, even that one minion sneaking away could have been some trouble. Lightning's going to come in, bowler's going to be just enough, and then now Ruben has to pull off the greatest lightning block in history, but Mo just going to go for the smarter option, which is just bait out troops and then sneak in that lightning when you know all the swarmies are gone.
And GG, well played. Mohamed Light now with, is that 5 or 6 on the day?
I think that's 5 now. He's just been cruising. Hasn't lost since we got back from our break, I believe. Yeah, 5 on the day. So if you do some quick math there, it's like $10,000. All right, maybe not quite.
This is actually, I've never heard a, this is maybe the best straight up Clash Royale joke I've ever heard. 2 Evo Barbs go to a bar, but left because there was no counter. Right? That's legit. You know what, Noah? I'm gonna have to steal that. That's gonna. I don't know if I can make bar jokes during CRL, but yeah, that's great. Killer.
Yeah, you can
nice,
do like
well played.
You can do like the club. You can say the club.
Go to the club. That,
There's
I
no
just
counter.
had
It doesn't work the same.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I just had an image of like Evo Barbs at a club, like yelling into girls' ears, and the girls being like, "Ew, get away from me." So, is what it is.
Yeah, but that honestly, Noah, that's like maybe the first good Clash Royale joke I've heard.
Yeah, I think
although
like
the knock knock foot joke was pretty good. That we were writing backstage.
Oh
in
yeah.
Finals.
I was trying to get Drew to do that one. What was it? Hold on. I don't know if I even have. Where do I have? Do I have that written down? Oh man. Oh yeah. It was knock knock.
Who's there?
You gotta do your part now. I think it was it Foot? Archer Foot?
I thought it was just like something that was like Clash Royale, and then he was like Clash Royale what? And then it was just you just show him your foot on camera.
Oh,
it was something like that.
That's also stupid. That's also no. I think I wrote something for Drew that we didn't end up using. That was something like knock knock. Who's there? Archer Foot. Who? You guys are ridiculous. You guys are gross with all the bookmarks. It was just like, just very stupid. I remember
Yeah, go
in
check out
season
Rich's
1
Twitter for that great foot pick.
Oh yeah, it's out there for sure. Use code Rich in the Supercell shop. It's attached to that foot. No, I remember season 1. They had us. Remember they had the voice of the king in the room when we introduced matches in season 1.
He was amazing.
And we would write some some dumb back and forth jokes that the king would say that were like really bad cheesy. Like, what's the only thing better than 3 musketeers? 4 musketeers, right? It was like really cheeseball stuff. But man, yeah, that no counter joke kills it.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. We'll see. We'll have to clear it with Supercell to make sure that we can say the bar. But when we do, Noah, you'll get a shout out there. As we're just waiting for this next game to get started here. It's going to be between again 2 world champions in Mo Light and Igor, as he's on a current 4-game win streak, which is $1,000 in the tank. You add the other win in, that's $1,250 on the day. And as we said before, Mohamed Light, the only person that's ever won more than $1,000 in a day at Royal Masters. A lot easier to do it today. You only needed to get 4, but he was able to pick up a huge amount before. As we see Evo Skeletons for the first time today, and Evo Skeletons have finally found their place. They are good. They are in meta decks. They feel correctly balanced.
It's
happy
Evo
about
Skeletons are. I'm like 50-50 on them because they're in the mix, but when they pop off, it feels very. You know what I mean? Like it's exciting when they start chaining and suddenly they like get all over a tower.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, you know, they went from 6 to 8. Maybe 7 is the number. Maybe it's 8. But there's something where like when they connect, it's
over.
It's over, right?
Yeah.
Which I think that it needs to be maybe almost over, but not quite over, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure. I mean, I definitely agree. Again, and also, just to let you guys know, we are watching this gameplay. That was some atrocious defense from Igor on both sides. He misses the Tesla on the right-hand side and then opts to have to just sacrifice his tower because of, I think it was a Fish Boy plus Bowler on the left-hand side. Either way, Igor in a very, very, very bad spot. To get back to your point about Evo Skeletons, I agree. I don't think they need to be easier to take care of, but yeah, maybe it's just 7 instead of 8 because they do feel a little game breaking in terms of if you miss one or if your log is just out of cycle, like you just lose the game. Oh yes. What are we seeing?
Wildness. Igor just, and I really wish we could have seen Igor actually play this. You know, I think here's one thing I will say is I think if there's any knock on Igor, I think it's the penchant for self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you have this situation where why are you playing Mirror Hog? Why are you doing that? You have the late stage game in the No Tilt Worlds from 2020, where he played the same deck 4 times in a row, I think against Line. Maybe against, I can't remember who it was against, but played the same deck 4 times in a row. Igor has this like strange penchant for self-sabotage, where just, maybe it's because he gets bored and he wants to do something wild and different. But I feel like if Igor had the discipline of Mo, we could have a very different Clash Royale universe.
I mean, I think that's why it's like, obviously coaches and analysts are really, really respected now. And you and I, from the beginning of our career, we always talked about the teams that had really good support staffs. Like Queso was probably our #1 favorite to talk about. And then SK was great as well. But you talk about what Eric Benamou did with Liquid, obviously one of the biggest names in all of gaming, but you know, to come over to Clash Royale and win that world championship in 2019, a huge part of that, when you watch the way that Igor plays, I mean, part of it is that he hadn't won anything yet, and he still had a lot to prove. So I think maybe he was a little bit more able, like it was easier to wrangle him. But the other part of it is like you have to have a great coach that can control big personalities. You have Surgical Goblin, who was the biggest player in the world, but you needed to lean on this rookie, and the rookie needed to do what you told him. But since then, like you said, it's been tough to wrangle Igor and his decksmanship.
Yes, very true indeed. OG asking, when is the Mo nerf coming? It came a few months ago, if you guys didn't pay attention. But so far, so good on today with a 5-game win streak, plus the wins from earlier, as he has Aslan up next, who's looking to get himself in the win column so he does not leave empty-handed. Of course, we are still partway through part 2 of our competition today. We do our first 8, then our next 8, and then our final 8, so 13 of 16. Then we'll take a short break after that for our final run. But so more than one chance for Aslan remaining, but he has to has a tough out here against Mohamed Light.
Yeah, decksmanship. There it is. That's right, big bass. I don't know why I have the hardest time saying bass. Anyway, that being said, we're just waiting on I think we're maybe just waiting on Aslan to get ready to go here. But yeah, Mo on a win streak of 5 now, who has definitely run away with it. We'll see, though, once Adnan gets back in the mix, because Mo is the one who I think dethroned him and was our other leader on the day. We'll see if he can also get things going. That's kind of how it went the first time through, was Mo was able to pick up a win, and Lucas was able to pick up, I think, 1 win, and then it was just kind of Adnan there on out. And now Mo has gone on his little bit of a run. So as you can see there, Dom or Doom up next, then Adnan, Lucas, Faust, Ruben, and Igor.
A nice little pickup there with Lemini Pekka as Aslan comes out minor here. Very interesting.
Yeah, Mini Pekka everywhere. makes sense. Again, the meta adjusting. Big Mama P.E.K.K.A. a little bit too expensive, but running Mini P.E.K.K.A. and bridge spam doesn't make a lot of sense, so that's why you're seeing Mama P.E.K.K.A. in just the one version and then Mini P.E.K.K.A. in so many others.
Someone asked me to do the Hog Rider impression, and I've got to say right now, I will not! That was the worst Hog Rider of all time.
Yeah, what happened? You cut out also, so I was kind of sad.
Good. I think I could, it's interesting, I can do the Hog Rider, but I can't do the Hog Rider voice on something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the Hog Rider voices at World Finals, and I've actually seen a few of them pop in my Twitch streams now, the people that were at World Finals that were there screaming. Big fan of those guys. Big fan of them.
They did say lots of things.
Yeah. The pre-match card call-out was, it was good for the energy in the room.
And RG to the left for Mohamed Light as the Knight will go to meet. I don't know if I see Aslan playing a lot of minor control. This is interesting.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point that you make. He's really much more of a beatdown or like a macro style player than a micro interaction dude, but this is the deck to do it with if you're going to play minor poison control. Last card, most likely Bomb Tower. We have seen some people like forcing Inferno Tower into it just because of the matchup, but then, like, you know, we were talking about earlier with Royal Hogs, if you run into that, you are in so much trouble. We want the mortar! Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Jarl boy.
They were yelling. They were yelling.
Excuse me, don't you know who I am?
They were uncomfortably correct. It was too many times that they would say something and then it would get played, but I guess there was literally only like 3 cards. But then when they started to see yelling things like Mortar and Hog Rider, it was, I mean, Hog was played a ton, but the Mortar hits were always impressive.
Very true. Very true indeed. Aslan with a little bit of a lead here. Does have to be careful against this RG push. Fireball will help. Royal Giant gonna get knocked back though. And
get a shot.
Still gets one though. It's a big shot, but Miner will give the lead back to Aslan.
Yeah, and you know, Aslan being someone that plays against Royal Giant so much, he should know exactly how Mo wants to put together these pushes, and he's going to have to clean up that defense just a little bit, because that one RG shot, it ends up just stacking exponentially in terms of how much damage is actually done on your side of the board and how much damage you can get done on the other with just your Miner, because also Mo should be baiting out poisons like that over and over.
Fishboy to pull. Mini P.E.K.K.A. does a great job here. This is going to be an opportunity for Mohamed now. With a lot of Elixir in the board, 80 seconds left, and now you see him go Royal Giant both lanes. And that's a good, great Barb Barrel as well. This should be some good damage on the right-hand side, but more importantly, going to give him an Elixir advantage, and now he has options. He can push into the same lane or do what you're seeing right here as he goes hard on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Guardian plus Mini P.E.K.K.A. the high evoed archers to snipe anything off the board. Now going to take care of that Miner, and he can kind of just continue on that push. So Aslan just on his back foot using all Elixir just for defense. And he's technically still in the lead, but like I said, with 45 seconds remaining, it feels like Mo is... Yeah, that's a really nice Barb Barrel from Mo.
Good Barb Barrel, but also the log didn't knock the Royal Giant back. It just knocked it slightly sideways, not getting the result that really Aslan wanted out of that. 30 seconds left. Mohamed Light opting to go Royal Giant left. He wants to force some expenditure there, but I don't know if it was necessary. He's going to try to pound into the right-hand side as well. Here we go. Royal Giant poisoned behind by Aslan to clear out the support troops. Fireball trying to clear the way for the Royal Giant, and it does. Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3, does not get a 4th, but that should be sufficient.
He's got damage on the left-hand side, too. The push comes in late from the bomb tower, and now that shot should actually take it. So Mo putting it all together in both lanes there at the end, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was probably what his plan was that entire game, just to hold on, and then just get that perfect double RG push for like the 3rd time in that final like minute and a half.
And that was just beautiful, and you know, you're sitting there going, man, it really feels like Aslan had that one in hand.
Yeah.
And man, that was nice job by Mo to stay in it, and especially a couple key moments there that kind of tossed the game away on the part of Aslan. And I do see a question we get a lot here from Curtis, who, Curtis, glad you're still here. How do you sign up for these competitions? Curtis, go to discord.gg/RoyaleMasters. You can see that listed right below me, and you can sign up for all the different Clash Royale offerings and other offerings that Royale Masters does in a variety of games where they have open qualifiers for many things. And if you want to see the Clash Royale esports ecosystem overall, you can go to esports.clashroyale.com for information on a variety of competitions throughout Clash Royale. There are open qualifiers for various competitions happening pretty much all the time, with big opportunities, big prize pools. They're not easy. It's going to be harder for you to make it through, but that's always available. So yes, esports.clashroyale.com for all Clash Royale offerings, and discord.gg/RoyaleMasters specifically to get involved in Clash Royale stuff for Royale Masters in the future.
And it sounds like we actually have a replay there. Now that we did that beautiful little bit of housekeeping there, we can watch the end of that game. If we still want to do it, Tasty, it's okay if the moment has passed. But here we go. End of the game. You see here, Mo is in the damage lead. And, oh no, excuse me, he's at the top there. Okay, we got a swept there. That's my bad. So you see Aslan now in the damage lead, getting some good damage on that right-hand tower. I'm just wondering if maybe he started to get a little too aggressive with his minor poisons. It's just so hard to say, because at the end of these games, you know, he's going for a great minor. He goes for a really good poison there. Minor comes out defensively. And I think it's just really comes down to the fact that, like, in the end of these situations of triple elixir going up against RG kind of quick cycle with the mini P.E.K.K.A in there, so the mini P.E.K.K.A can cause a lot of threat as well. Going up against just minor poison control, I feel like if you're playing a smart player like Mo is, you just have to survive until you're into triple, and then you can just start getting those double RG pushes over and over and over, which again probably goes back to like why I'm not the best Royal Giant player is, like, so much of it like at the high level has to be won in triple elixir, and a lot of times you see people panic before then, especially as their opponent starts to stack up damage as Aslan was doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenging things you talk about. And this is for some of you who may be new to the Clash Royale competitive scene. It's not just micro. It's not just understanding what placements are. It's understanding macro, understanding how a matchup should be played in all three phases of the game, in the opening couple of minutes, once you get into double and sudden death time, and that final triple elixir period. So understanding how you should play that game, not just how you should play each individual card, each individual troop.
Yeah, Mo on a run right now, as you guys can see at the bottom of your screen. 6 wins in the bank as he's going back up against Doom. We'll see if Doom can end up picking up his first win here on the day, but Doom's definitely kind of hit in like in a rough part of it, because what you're gonna, like, when you're the first person out or the second person out, you're gonna catch the person that did the best on the back end, and then you're going right back into the number 1, 2, 3 seeds. So Doom definitely in a very, very tough spot in terms of lineup as he goes right back in where we started our day. Mo at the top of your screen, Doom at the bottom. Still got a handful of matches left.
5 is the streak, or 6 is the streak right now.
And Doom already calling good game.
Oh boy.
Knowing he's going up against Hog EQ. And he's playing E-Giant, which makes sense because this should be a very, very, not easy win for Mo, because obviously Doom is a very good player. He's going to make him, you know, work for it, but just being able to beat the cycle, the inability to get on top of firecrackers, it's always going to have to be very, very expensive spends, which is honestly why you're seeing Doom go so aggro in single here, because actually in this matchup it feels like it gets better for the faster deck as more elixir starts to flow.
And very aggressive. You see here, can he get a little extra damage? Firecracker should get 1, and it does. So King Tower activation will certainly be helpful, but right now it's Dom with the 300, 200-ish HP lead at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm just so curious. Like, I would love to see Doom actually win this game to see how you play through this matchup against someone as good as Mo, because it is very, very difficult in my mind.
Well, the interesting thing is going to be how does he contend with... He does have the Lightning. I don't know. We haven't seen a Fisherman yet, which is so common these days. Probably NATO here.
Yeah,
So
it needs to be.
then how are the Lightning and NATO going to allow him to get past the Mighty Miner and Log and Bomb Tower combination?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I have no idea, because you even see right here, he just goes really aggressive. Now the bowler is out of sequence, has to come out early, should still sneak in front of the E-Giant, yeah. Now the Firecracker, well, the Firecracker needs to either get NATO'd or Lightning, which is obviously a negative trade there, so you go NATO instead. It just... I mean, I guess the only good thing in this situation is the Mighty Miner was out so late that he can't actually cycle back to another bomb tower, but I don't think he actually needs to.
And you see there where we're in a situation where Doom is able to do a lot to break past everything, but isn't able to get the second round of support in. And that's one of the real challenges. He's going to have to NATO this, I think. Yes, and he does. He does it straight back rather than into the middle here, and just going for some lightning. And honestly, I think this is the solution now, is that, and maybe he's a little bit too far behind to succeed with it,
right?
But trying to lightning cycle this rather than try to break through, you're going to see him break through to force out the expenditure. But I think that Dom's probably anticipating that most of his damage will come from lightning, but I think he's too far behind for that to be the effective way of winning.
Yeah, and every time that he lightnings, Mo has a very cheap defense that he can play then with the Firecracker, because there's then no way to get on top of the Firecracker and the bomb tower, and then you can also still EQ cycle if you really want to. And this time using the Hog Rider is a bit of a tank, which you like to see. And yeah, Doom just knows. I mean, he knew from the very beginning, right? He knew from the first 2 cards out that it was game over, and yeah, Mo just plays it like you're supposed to.
And domination once more. And I know a lot of players are saying, can someone else please beat Mo so I don't have to? And we'll see if anyone can unseat. Again, when you're playing BO1s, that's even crazier, that we're playing BO1s against, these are without question some of the top players in the world. And he's on a 7-game win streak of BO1s against these top players is wild. $2,000 on the day so far for Mo.
And then you look at that matchup, and on paper, it gives it a 53-47 matchup to Mohamed Light. But I just feel like when you're both playing, I mean, because Doom is very, very, very good at this game. Yep. And it feels like that matchup has to be much more of like a 70-30 when played correctly. I don't know how you do it. I agree with you. I was like trying to watch, and I was like, I guess maybe lightning cycle, but then there's just no way to get on top of the firecrackers. And then if you NATO the firecracker in, then there's literally nothing for the bomb tower. And then if you're playing against someone who's very good, again, like Mo, is that anytime that you have a moment of pause, you just cycle a Mighty Miner in the back, because then you're back to that 3-card cycle, and it makes everything even more difficult. Then you can cycle EQs, you can get to that second bomb tower, all the things. So here we are, where we started off, actually, I believe, Rich, was Adnan was in the winner or driver's seat, and then Mo took that from him. And it would make sense if he's on an 8-match win streak after this, because that means we would have gone all the way through our competitors. And yeah, just like you said, you add in the fact that these are BO1s, and he's not washed. I don't care what anyone says.
'Tis crazy. And Bomb Tower will be nice for Adnan in this matchup. Earthquake will be a factor, of course, but Bomb Tower against Royal Hogs will certainly be nice. Curious what the building situation is for Mohamed Light. Goes Tesla, which will be great for anti-EQ placements, and this is looking pretty good for Mo here, as you see that.
Yeah, we find ourselves in like a fun kind of mirror-ish matchup. Obviously, the difference is the bomb tower, the Royals, instead of the regular Hog, but this is actually truly more of a 50-50, it feels like.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I honestly, I wonder how much this Bomb Tower versus Tesla situation really impacts things. I'm assuming that Mohamed Light's running Little Prince and Delivery here. No, running Evo Archers.
Interesting.
So, interesting. Is he running Triple Spell, or is he running Little Prince? If he's not running 3... So, I think the Tesla beats the Bomb Tower here. But if he's not running 3-card cycle, then that makes this another completely different conversation.
Absolutely, and I think that, I mean, again, it's Mohamed Light, so who cares really when it comes down to like numbers, and he can play through those types of things. But I think because of the 3-card cycle, as we see so many times with Hog like mirror matches or similar mirror matches like this, that 3-card cycle ends up being king. Because what you're able to do is you're able to start tracking these EQs, and you know that EQ is going to come out there. If you can beat the cycle back around, then you can start defending with like Log plus Ice Spirit plus Goblins, you know, and you can start getting a little bit more innovative.
And not going to Tesla here. Going to go ahead and Evo Archers plus Log to clean that one up. One Piggy does escape.
Yep.
And I like what Mo's going for here, because he also knows that he is going to get outcycled on that Tesla.
Yep.
So very, very smart play to keep himself in the mix, but this is going to be difficult.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you make there. I mean, that damage lead, it needs to be at least a few hundred damage ahead, because that EQ cycle, again, with the 3-card cycle, you will lose it, which is why every single one of these pushes, Mo is narrowing that gap, and it's making Adnan just a little bit less comfortable. What he needs to do, I think, is just get a Mighty Miner down in the back on that left-hand side. I think he needs to start leaning on that 3-card cycle.
Yeah, and he...
Go ahead.
Man, well, I was going to say, like, the other thing, too, about the variance is not only does Mo know that he can get outcycled here, but he's also making it really hard for Adnan to figure out when the Tesla comes in. So you saw not able to really EQ the way he wanted to. Earthquake just comes in to get the damage at the end and has nothing to do. And there you go. That's a great EQ Log prediction play. The Ice Spirit to hold here, but now Mo has no way, has to take 2 shots.
Wow.
And that is a brilliant play if you want to pull that for the replays afterwards. If Trainer Adnan wins, that might be the one that does it.
Yeah, and that was one of those situations of like, you kind of paint your opponent into a corner, and you know that Mo has to now defend with the Tesla, and where is he going to place it? And he ends up giving you just the great value. I mean, that's not something that Mo does a lot, but again, with how archers are played now, Evo Archers, regular Archers, you play them up high like that, you get all 3 of them, the Archers plus the Tesla, under that EQ of throwing a Log there, and that feels like enough to change the game.
Adnan playing very smart here, playing very defensive, knows that in triple elixir he should have the advantage. But this is going to be back to pigs one more time. Bomb Tower will be in cycle for this next set of pigs. Mo trying to find some way, any way, to get a breakthrough here. Evo Archers do stay alive. He plays the Skellies to the left-hand side to clear, but Evo Archers get taken off the board. 25 seconds left. Bomb Tower gone. Back to another one, though. That 3-card cycle not really in effect as the Mighty Miner was down. Nice pre-log here, but the log in reply. 566, 322, 14 seconds left.
I know, the cycle at the end of this game with the Royal Hogs deck is absolutely nuts. Then you add in the fact that, you know, you could have had Little Prince in there, and that cycle just becomes insane to keep up with. Adnan doing a really, really good job. He was keeping with the damage lead. He was mitigating as much as he could. Then you saw him start setting up those Mighty Miners in the back as we got closer and closer to triple elixir. And, you know, they're maybe not the most fun matches to watch in terms of like Hog or Royal Hog EQ mirror matches, but they are always fascinating because there has to be like either a big mistake or like what we saw there, a really, really great play, because otherwise if you're just within a couple hundred damage, it can always go either way, as we saw there at the end. But that one beautiful play from Adnan did enough.
Yeah, and you know, I think we probably pulled that for a replay before we go to our break here. But you look at the, I don't know what's more impressive here. How brilliantly Mo almost won this by really varying up his defense, creating different ways to put offense out. This is the replay from the previous match, not the replay from the match that we're currently on. So we'll see if we can go ahead and get the right one lined up here in just a moment. But I don't know what's more important. Here we go. This should be the correct one. And so you saw Mo doing totally varying up his defense and making a lot of guessing games happen. You see these pigs push from the back to try to like disrupt the rhythm and get some really key critical damage here a couple of times. But watch this play.
Yeah.
The prediction EQ log onto that Tesla with the Evo Archers is absolutely brilliant, and that gets the huge hog shots. And this is a game that was won by, I want to say, like 200 something HP in the end. This was won by a very thin margin. That play right there is what won it for Trainer Adnan.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that where else are you going to put the Tesla at that point, right? Like, you have the archers up high, and I think that's maybe the biggest thing for Mo, is he maybe needed to play the Tesla like down and next to his tower so that it doesn't give that much value, because that ends up just being, it's just too much value. That's really all it comes down to. Who knows what would have happened after that, but you can't give away that much value to someone as good as Adnan. You can't give him the ability to take out your two biggest DPS dealers and the building with just an EQ and a log. So even the GOATs make mistakes, and right back into the not the lead, but in the position he was in before is Adnan, as we get to our next break here of the day. Mohamed Light definitely running away with things, but Adnan a relatively close second. We'll see what happens here on our leaderboard, just to let you guys know where we're at money-wise. Rich, Momo walking away with 2K on the day so far.
Yeah, 2,000's not bad. $1,000 here for trainer Adnan. Igor will have another chance to get himself up to 1,000 in that club as well. But now we're coming to the last rotation. Doom, Faust, Ruben, and Aslan all looking to leave not empty-handed.
Yeah.
We'll see when we come back if they can get themselves out of the Bagel Club, or if they will remain with a big fat 0 on the day. And that'll come up very soon. We'll be right back, folks. The last 8 matches of the King of the Hill, King of Kings, coming at you right after this. And here we are, the final 8 matches of the Royale Masters King of the Hill season here at King of Kings, where we have the 8 best players from all of 2023 in this competition playing for $250 a game, $6,000 overall, the prize pool on the day. And Andrew, no big surprises here that we have someone who's won a little bit before in the lead on the day.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the people that are on top of the leaderboard here with Mohamed Light at $2,000 already on the day, Adnan at $1,000 on the day, it makes a lot of sense because honestly, those 2 players have been some of the most successful in all things Royale Masters this year in 2023. I mean, Mohamed Light has done it everywhere in every competition. Adnan, though, has definitely surprised us numerous times. Not even surprised, but more so impressed us, I think is a better word, because it's not really ever surprising when he does well, but it is always nice to see Adnan show up. And then for the bottom of our rung there, the bottom, I think 4 players that are all still looking to find a dub. This is their last chance. Look, $250, at least for me, is a lot to win for 1 game of Clash Royale. But what I will say is that if you have someone walking away with $2,000, you got to feel a little bit jaded if you don't walk away with anything on the day. Throughout the rest of the year, we always give away money to people just for qualifying to be in the King of the Hill battle, but not on King of King Day. Wow, that was a sentence. Not on the day of King of Kings. Today, no qualifying money. You just win and you get money, or you lose and you get nothing. And this is our final opportunity for these guys.
I mean, $250, nothing to snuff at, right? It's either one really phenomenal meal at a very nice restaurant. It's like 12 decent meals at like a nice casual place, or it's like a year's supply of potatoes and rice. So
yeah,
there's certainly a nice thing if you can walk away with that. Of course, the 2K certainly even better on this one. And now it's Mohamed Light back to the end of the line here. So the other players have a chance to get in the mix. But right now it's 2 players who have already gotten some wins. Trainer Adnan already 1,000 on the day. Lucas already 1 win on the day with his $250. So we'll see who comes out on top in this next one as we go into our final 8 matches.
Yeah, Lucas would obviously love to double that up, and still the opportunity to make over $1,000 for anyone left in this, really, other than I guess the last couple players. So obviously Mohamed Light can't make another $1,000, but he can definitely still add to his lead. Like you said, I think he is at the very, very end of our line now since he just lost. So we'll see him one more time today. And then for everyone else out there, I mean, I can't imagine they would do this even now. But we kept having it happen as we hop in a game where people would not come back for their final match. You can still win $250. It is always worth coming back for that final match.
Yes, it is. And first wall breakers of the day.
Yay!
As Adnan comes out with the bomb tower in response. Some poison value here for Lucas. And
wow.
Yeah, nice little open.
I was just looking at the leaderboard for decks without an evolution in them that Royale API just posted, and 180th in the world is the highest non-Evo deck. And
no
that is our good
surprises,
friend
was,
Viper. Yeah, of course.
Hog XE NATO King.
I wish I loved anything in my life as much as he loves that deck.
Yeah, seriously.
He's been loyal to it for the
Ever?
entire time. Yeah, exactly. Like, ever. But
And
I will
so
say
far,
I always enjoy watching Lucas play wall breakers. That's a thing.
Yeah, and wall breakers, we went through such a minor wall breakers meta for a long time. First half of the year, the Remy Eli deck was so popular, but then a multitude of nerfs, including that pretty significant nerf to the Magic Archer, kind of killed it. And for a while, the Bats variation, a little bit faster version of minor wall breakers became popular, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't even know if we saw minor wall breakers played at Worlds, did we?
I feel like we must have seen them maybe like once or twice. For some reason, I feel like I did, but considering where they were at all year long, like you're talking about, it is. I love minor wall breakers. Was I a little tired of the Remy Eli deck? Absolutely. Do I think the nerf that happened was appropriate? I still don't know. It still might have felt like a little bit too much on Magic Archer, but I don't know. Wall breakers, minor wall breakers has always been one of my favorite win conditions, and I'm always bummed when it kind of falls out of the meta. I just don't want it to dominate it.
It is hard because they did murder the Magic Archer. I almost never see it now. And one of those ones where we didn't really see it come back in, right? Like often you've had the thing where the Western players stop playing after a nerf and the Eastern players show it's still viable. We haven't seen that happen with the Magic Archer.
No, I mean I don't really know where he fits anymore, because you would just as like you would rather play Evo Archers or Little Prince, and then in terms of like those other weird decks that you would see Magic Archer in, where it'd be like E-Giant Magic Archer, it's not a thing.
This Hog Cycle is just brutalizing Lucas right now as he's unable to break through with any significant way with the wall breakers due to these bomb towers. Let's see if we can find a solution here. An unfortunate interaction as the Mighty Miner gets too close to the Evo Archers, attracting the bomb tower and getting the Evo Archers taken off the board. So now we have that one wall breaker might make it, and it still doesn't. 1748, 2028 with 90 seconds left. The big question here is, can Miner Poison end up winning this for Mohamed Light here or not?
Or for Lucas, yeah, I know.
For Lucas,
it looks like he's doing his best to keep up with this, but like you said, that cycle from Adnan is just absolutely beastly. And then the Evo Firecracker, I mean, she really is like back in the meta and kind of dominating, and I'm okay with it. She's not as broken as she felt before. It feels like she has really been able to find a lot of value in what feels like, I guess because so many people are just running Lightning and Rage, it's hard to know when. I mean, you basically always have the Lightning, the Evo Firecracker, and that's such a negative trade.
And look at that, the Evo Firecracker going to get crosswise damage here. And a little that's a big miscalculation there from Lucas, who you saw poison behind Princess Tower. I think maybe misreading which side the Evo Firecracker would go to. And so then it goes coast to coast and gets the extra damage there, and Adnan will...
One shot from her spawn position. She doesn't even take a step forward. She just takes it from where she spawned, and as we all know, she pushes you back one tile, she goes opposite direction, poison to nowhere, and then GG's well played. I mean, you can't... That's the thing about, like, minor wall breakers and minor poison control is just, like, especially in the meta we're in, Hog is actually also similar to Goblin Giant in the sense of, like, if you don't have the elixir to defend, they just kind of win the game. And like, even though it doesn't happen in one push like it does with Goblin Giant, where if there's just one Goblin Giant push that you can't defend, you lose your tower, taking 2 or 3 hog hits and being down elixir is almost the same thing as losing the game, right?
Yeah.
You're down several hundred damage, and then you're caught in that brutal cycle that you can't get out of. So both very unforgiving, even though one is very quick in Hog and one is very expensive in Goblin Giant.
Well, and a quick note here, Lucas is the last person who will get another shot at this today. Lucas will appear again in match 24, but from now on, for everybody here, they are on their last life. So if you lose, you are out of King of the Hill for the rest of the day. So Adnan does have the opportunity to maybe catch up and surpass Mohamed Light. The question is, can he do it? And then after that, it's everyone else is trying to hopefully get a little bit more money or erase that 0 from their record.
Yeah, Faust, one of those players that is trying to get rid of that 0 on the day. Would be nice to at least get the 250 for showing up. Yeah, it's hard to say really what it has been about Faust. I mean, like, that's the thing about this meta, man. It's such a weird meta to be commentating for too, because so much of it isn't really about making mistakes. A lot of it is just about, like, all right, the game has now got to triple elixir and I cannot keep up with these heavy decks. I'm trying to look back at what Faust has played throughout the day. He lost to Mo playing Goblin Giant Bowler with Lightning and Rage and Little Prince. He lost to Igor playing Royal Giant with Bowler and Lightning. And otherwise, it was a ranked game that he was playing. So maybe he goes back to what he was playing in ranked, which is Ram Rider Snowball. But yeah, either way, it's been a tough day for Faust, who has definitely leaned into the meta. And he runs Goblin Giant Bowler Lightning, and he runs into E-Giant Bowler Lightning. And then the other one with Igor, which was kind of what we were commending Igor for earlier on the day until he came out with the Mirror Hog deck, which was just that he was kind of playing things that were doing a good job against the meta. So he was playing that, like, MK Prince deck with Hog and Evo Archers, which is really nice because you're able to get a lot of damage on the tanks. And again, Hog Rider, really cheap, demands a response opposite lane.
Yeah, and I kind of want to get into a bit more of Faust's history competitively as we jump in to this one. Faust, when you add in, I believe he got 20,000 from Worlds this year, so 52,000 so far in his Clash Royale career in prize earnings. Not counting what he's done in Royale Masters. Oh, actually, one of the King of the Hills is on his list. Some people have King of the Hill listed on their achievements on Liquipedia, some don't. I might have to become the new Liquipedia person for Clash Royale.
I'm like, who is the person that does that? Because, first of all, I'm so thankful for them, but also, that's just so much bookkeeping.
Yes.
Which you kind of love.
Yes, indeed. I do enjoy the records and the numbers, of course. And that's a cheeky little lightning there. The goblins come out behind. Archers will get hit by the barb barrel and well mitigated by Adnan.
Yeah, I think that was a good lightning. It's always weird when you see a play and you're like, was that the right thing to do? And it feels like probably. Who knows what that push would have turned into. Adnan's only down 1.5 elixir. We'll call it 1 for good measure. And yeah, and now we're back to a bowler battle, which means we both reset.
And Bo Jensen asking, is this the last game for the day? No, you can see on the top right corner of the screen, match 18 of 24. So we do have a few more lined up for us as time goes on.
But it could be the last game of the day for one of these, right? That's the way it's working, because I think Lucas is coming back around. So pretty much no matter what from here on out, it will be the last game of the day for one of our players.
Oh. And I think, will this? No, it's going to get stunned and not hit and not change. And you saw Faust's Evo Archers create an opportunity to potentially get the King Tower activation against the bowler, but the bowler had already targeted the Princess Tower, and then his trainer Adnan able to get his King Tower activation. So both sides of the board going wrong for Faust.
That's kind of just been the story of the day for Faust as he resets this bowler in the back and an E-Giant from Adnan.
An opposite lane here for Faust now that there's 12 elixir plus Evo Archers, so now 15 elixir committed to that right-hand lane.
And
ooh,
yeah, that still works out well. I mean, a little bit late on the lightning, but probably needed the elixir for it and still gets great damage. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier about that little prince is like, you have to think about where your opponent's tank is going to be. And, you know, it's tough because Little Prince, you don't want to play it on the inside because then you're giving value to the Fisherman and the Little Prince getting lightnings, but then you could at least use that Little Prince push to get the E-Giant off the tower. So definitely between a rock and a hard place was Faust on that defense.
And Double J in the YouTube chat saying, there is Clash Royale esports, question exclamation, question exclamation, question exclamation, about 5,000 times over. Yes, since 2016, actually. And the current esports world has been, we've had CRL, Clash Royale League, since 2018. We just had our World Finals where our champion, Moogie, won $250,000 as being our world champion. So, yeah, all the time, sir.
Yeah, get in on the action, man. You've been missing out. You got years of footage you can go back and watch. That's like finding out about a good show 6 seasons in.
Indeed, and not sure if this is actually the YouTuber, the Twitch streamer Glizzy, because I don't know if that's actually, there's nothing on the YouTube channel, but if that is, shout out to you too.
Oh, she's subscribed to Dr. Mike and Juicy J Clash Royale, so I'm going to say it is Glizzy.
Very possible.
Shout out to you, Glizzy. Thanks for the
Welcome
content that you do.
Indeed, E-Giant to the right-hand side, 1647, 1227. Little Prince ability going to come out here to knock back the Electro Giant and try to hold off here. A little oops, but not a huge problem.
Yeah, mitigated pretty well still, but that tombstone just coming down a second later, maybe in the wrong spot. I'm not exactly sure what Adnan wanted there differently. And here's the thing I was talking about is this Little Prince push, but if the lightning comes in, that's game over.
Well, it's also how much that Little Prince gets decimated by the E-Giant.
Yep.
So, very, very nice. And big win for trainer Adnan, who, I don't know what he's at now, but it's a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely had a great run today. Faust on the other side of it, though, not having a good run. He gets eliminated. Does get our first bagel on the day, as we hear that Adnan is now up to 6. So that is $1,500, if I can math correctly. And again, that's a great day. That's a great Wednesday. We say this all year long, since King of the Hill always falls on a Wednesday. This is a great Wednesday to walk away with even a few $100s, let alone $1,000 here at the end of the year. It's our last event of the year for me. I mean, you're going to cast more, but this is it. I'm hanging up my hat after this.
Yeah, I'm doing some GKR, which is also concurrent right now. It's actually happening at the same time.
He's actually casting both.
Casting them both right now. That's why I seem distracted, because I'm actually, whenever Andrew talks, I'm casting GKR on my own stream. So yeah, this is the last of the big events, and to go back to Double J saying I legit didn't know that. I haven't played for a long time, and came online, saw this was live. Yeah, we've had a pretty big Clash Royale esports kind of world for about 6 years now. CRL every single year is the big one that, of course, is open to you as well. You can play in CRL if you make top 1,000 on ranked. Then you qualify for that month's monthly championship, the big system there. You can go, if you want to know more about Clash Royale esports, for Double J or anybody else, go to esports.clashroyale.com, both for things that you can watch and ways that you can participate and maybe find yourself right here on this channel or on other esports competitions.
Rotom is cool. It's Thursday, not Wednesday. Look, don't argue with me on what day of the week it is, because I will be very easily convinced that I'm wrong. I literally, the moment you said that, I already knew it was Wednesday. I mean, it could be Thursday in your part of the world, but you can't do that to me.
It's Wednesday here. It's Thursday somewhere else. I got you, Andrew. I'm supporting you. And here we go, Ruben. Looking to see if he can disrupt Adnan's run.
Yeah, it is crazy to think about this, like how massive the esports scene has become. But then, there's always that conversation that we have with, Supercell and CMs and stuff about like the casuals versus the esports scene is a very, very different group of people.
Yes, indeed. I'm part of the Clash Royale community Facebook group, and it is quite enjoyable how different it is from what we typically experience. Charming is the word I'll use.
I must join this. I must join this group.
Oh, it's a world.
Just unlocked Archer Queen.
Yep.
Really excited. Yeah, it's amazing.
A lot of people discussing, like, hey, how's my deck? And then it's nonsense, and then people debating whether or not it's nonsense. It's super fun.
I'm joining. I am joining today. Glizzy, Andrew, is that true? Yes. I am done casting for the year, but realistically the year is only like 3 weeks long, like from now till the end of the year. And I think, like Rich said, I think this is it, right? It's just this, and then GKR closes out.
And Glizzy asking if I'm casting Supremacy League, the women's competition. Not sure yet. I don't know much about the schedule, the format. I know the matches are kind of long. So I need to see if it conflicts with the other things that I'm doing. But it'd be nice to be able to cast at least some of it maybe when they get the championship phase. That would be very cool to get involved.
Also very excited to see that in the world of Clash Royale.
Indeed. We should have a NATO there. And, takes a chip. Takes a hit, and Adnan can only laugh after that little bit of a misstep.
That's like a true laugh crying, though. When you look at the fact that he has Tombstone, Little Prince, Bowler, and NATO, and he is not able to stop these hog connections, I would be cry laughing as well.
Yeah, that's a little bit rough, and this is one of those ones that's certainly winnable for Adnan, but hard to do when you fall behind by 1,000 HP as we go into sudden death. But here we go. The Monk does finally get the reflection. NATO should be in cycle here to control the hog. Goes Tombstone instead, so maybe it wasn't available, but maybe he wants the NATO here so he gets some offense, but a nice high Tesla to prevent that from becoming a bigger problem, and that Goblin Gang will prevent this from becoming anything real. But Adnan now going full pressure. Can he call in the Guardian? He does. Only gets one of the archers, and man, everything going right for Ruben right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was just so well played by Ruben on the opposite lane. Whether he knew he beat the cycle or not, whether he knew he beat it the tornado or whether he knew Adnan had to use that on offense because of the archers, which you really have to do because the archers just do so much damage against the E-Giant. As long as that E-Giant isn't going towards the archers or they get NATO'd in, that's all you need defensively. So Ruben just goes in with a beautiful Hog plus Fire Spirit because he knows Tombstone is the only other option. And it's just really, really well done. I mean, I love watching Ruben play when he plays like this.
That's a critical bowler there, but the Hog doesn't hit. Fire Spirit to the archers, and this is going to be interesting. Monk now to the back of the cycle, Little Prince up, and Adnan just chooses to reset here rather than recommit on that one.
And with the NATO out now, it's like buried so deep that, again, exactly, archers are going to come out right away from Ruben. That way, if there is any way to get on top of those archers, he will already have the second set of archers ready to go. I mean, he's already back to that set of archers after he logs or does anything here. He goes Fire Spirit instead.
And here we go. Monk does not have its ability in cycle. Barb Barrel gets out and trying to get enough, and Adnan leaking a little bit. Does get the E-Giant in front. Hog opposite direction. He doesn't want a NATO if he doesn't have to NATO, because he wants that here on offense, but
oh wow,
I think he's going to take a Hog shot.
The bowler gets a shot in, at least if you're looking for something positive for Adnan, then tries to NATO away, and that's when you know you're really like, when you're trying to create bowler pushes by NATOing your opponent's defense into the opposite lane, that's when you know you've kind of given up on your E-Giants. There's just not enough time. And Ruben plays this absolutely picture perfect.
Yeah, this was clean gameplay from the 2020 World Champion, as he will get in the winners column today. And Adnan will have to settle for second overall on the day behind Mohamed Light. Still walking away with, I think, $1,500. Not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. And honestly, again, when you talk about this just being one of the last competitions of the year, you're happy to stack a little bit of cash before the holidays. Jelly Joe. My deck is Giant Skeleton Clone Tornado Sparky. I'm at 6,000 trophies, and I win like 70% of my games. Well, Jelly, congratulations. That is a robust win rate.
Tremendous. Tremendous. And you know what?
It's the silent slow clap that does it for me. And the stand-up.
Yeah.
A few more matches to go. Just 5 left on the day. 5 left on the year for Royale Masters. Again, I see people asking. We're going to do it. We'll probably do it a couple more times before we're out of here. But go and join all things Royale Masters. With that means joining the Discord, following on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribed here to the YouTube. All those things. Even their Instagram. Even on Instagram, they're getting posts there from Clash Royale Esports and obviously from Royale Masters. You can get in on the competition that is most likely, hopefully, happening in 2024. I saw people already asking about when the next monthly finals is. Look, man, we just finished World Finals. Give us a couple months off, and then I'm sure we'll see you again in 2024. Based off the last few years, though, I would probably imagine early spring, right? Usually that's about when things start to get rolling. But as Rich talked about, esports.clashroyale.com. Esports Royale EN on Twitter, and of course all things Royale Masters, because usually if CRL is there, Royale Masters will be back in some form. So go and join on all these things and start winning your money. You could be like Mo and win $2,000 on a Wednesday morning. Why not?
Now here's the question. Do you think Igor comes out with a real deck or some kind of trolly Igor-like nonsense?
I just don't know why when you're playing against people this good and there's good money on the line. But you know what? He's playing Evo Mortar, and for anyone else, I might be upset. But for him, I'm always down.
Let's see it. One of the all-time Mortar greats. Mortar God, if you will.
Mortar God. Antoine, I'm going to get good at this game, and you will see me competing in the King of the Hill event, 100%. I am ready for you next year.
That's annoying to spend that much and still have a Hog Rider hit.
Yeah. And
Mortar
then
GY. Okay.
And he actually ends up getting some decent damage out of this. I think maybe just not expecting the GY was Ruben. I don't really love going with the aggressive GY that early on because, like, I mean, we've talked about GY and single elixir for so long, and this Hog's going to get 3 hits. Like, that's massive.
Yeah, it's, you know, the meta has become so aggressive. So
yeah,
it's, I don't know how much, especially looking at the deck that he has, how much he really felt like he could sit back and defend in single and take a bunch of hog shots.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough deck. I mean, I think you... Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to defend, like, in single elixir without having to use your mortar and just giving away EQ value. And I guess it just comes down to, like, the Little Prince and the Zappies, but...
He doesn't want a high mortar here because of the King Tower activation with those goblins, which would shut down his graveyard play.
Yep. But either way, you love to see a little bit of damage early on, 1236 to 1733. Igor currently trailing by about 500.
Little Prince ability here, maybe. Get a snowball instead and save the ability, and does not take a hog shot, and that's really nice. Really, really nice for Igor.
Smurfblade going, yep, this is an Igor deck, and it is an Igor deck, but again, it's Igor playing Mortar and GY, so it's not the worst. I mean, it's better than Mirrored Hog like we saw earlier.
Oh my word. All right, no snowball. He goes for the high mortar here, and Ruben, maybe did he not have goblins in cycle, opting not to go for the King Tower activation, which I'm a little surprised by, as that would make the graveyard plays a lot harder for Igor.
Igor just needs to make sure every time he goes for those high mortars that there has to be other stuff on the board. That's like his number one thing. He's going to go for a high mortar in the middle. There has to be at least a firecracker down. There at least has to be some goblins, something, so that exactly what you're talking about doesn't just like end his opportunity to get damage on tower. Tough defense here.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Does the hog hit? And it does.
And now you got two firecrackers to deal with a knight in
and
front.
dead
I don't know.
zappies.
It's just over. Yep.
Yeah,
Igor
he
hangs
knows
up
it's
the
over,
phone.
Too. Igor was the last person who could challenge Mohamed Light for today's title, and that man is now out. So you take a look at our previous winners. There they all are. They all appeared today. Igor hangs up his hat for the day, as Ruben will stay on as our King of the Hill.
Yeah, and you know, it's again one of those things where it's just Igor playing an Igor deck. I think that's one of the things that's so frustrating about the meta that we're currently in, is like it felt like you could play meta, or you could play off meta decks if it was your style of play, and it didn't feel like you were at such a disadvantage. But like you run that deck that we just saw, you know, you're going up against Hog EQ without like a great big spell to deal with the firecrackers. Their cycle is so much faster than yours, so they don't really even have to like ever think about, oh, I need to save this to deal with that graveyard. And then the Evo Mortar is arguably the second worst Evo now. You know, it feels like Evo RG is even just a little bit more popular. It feels like, I guess, third because Ice Spirit is technically involved in the mix. But yeah, it's like kind of Bats have even found their way in front of the Evo Mortar. So it feels like it's probably just Ice Spirit and then the Mortar. And then kind of everything else, you know, obviously with the Archers at the top.
You know, I will say, though, that I feel like we saw a fair amount of not just Mortar, but Evo Mortar at World Finals. So, obviously, that's different when you're in duel mode and you have some more information game by game, but it was not unplayed.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how much Mortar was played at World Finals, and I think so much of that has to do with how it matches up against things like E-Giant. E-Giant specifically, Mortar Miner Control is going to do a really, really great job, but Goblin Giant Bowler just changes that equation instantaneously.
So
Rotom is cool.
awesome.
I skipped sleeping for this. Worth it. Glad to hear it.
And there go the piggies.
Smurf saying Evo support cards are almost more of a win con than actual evolved win cons. That's actually really interesting. And true, I think.
Running minor wall breakers into log building delivery is really, really difficult. The only real interesting part here, I think, for Ruben is if he can find out ways to get the miner down when maybe the Ice Spirit and or Skellies are not available. So we'll see if Ruben can take advantage of that as a way to get miners on tower, but otherwise you're seeing the difficulty he's having trying to create legitimate offense.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to be really, really difficult throughout. I mean, you wonder when he's going to kind of just abandon the wall breakers, because this matchup, you're not really going to ever out-cycle your opponent, and your opponent, I mean, literally has almost every answer in almost every card in their deck as a response to those wall breakers in one way or another. So then it just comes down to, can I minor poison my way out of this? If poison is the big spell, and I don't know, that becomes like a really difficult conversation. You have to defend very, very efficiently for a very long time.
The one thing about the wall breakers where I think he's going to keep on playing them is that they force out responses still, right? So you're spending 3 on 2 there with that delivery like we just saw. And it's one of the things that, you know, I think that is a good lesson to learn about minor wall breakers overall, is that so often wall breakers are more for pressure and for forcing out responses, and connections are a bonus. So we'll see if he keeps on.
I mean,
pressuring
100%. That is so much of like how and why you play wall breakers late game, because again, late game, double, triple elixir, there's always a response. It's just with this matchup specifically, I'm so curious as to what he's going to do. And man, Evo Skeletons are also like such a great card for defense.
They're wild. They're absolutely wild, especially when you don't have that poison and cycle at the moment. And good read from Ruben that the timing was more than enough to get those Evo Skeletons off, not being forced to spend against that. But like you said, I don't know what he does here.
Because like, even when you overspend, like you're not spending a ton, and when you are overspending the most, it's on the Inferno Tower. But the thing is, the Inferno Tower just stays where where you need it. You know, it's not. It doesn't go off the board in terms of like spending 3 more than the wall breakers cost. It's like the utility still stays there, which is also a problem for Ruben, who is again just like really trying right now.
Yeah, down by 1,000, and not likely is going to get much. And this is the smart play here to not play the Tesla and instead try to get these Evo Archers behind something. He wants this Mighty Miner to distract so that the wall breakers can slide through. But the delivery is just, and you see Aslan not like panicking and playing deliveries on the miners, instead just making sure that delivery always is there to shut down those wall breakers push. But yet, look what we're seeing. 664, the Pigs will get a little bit here, but Ruben is doing an okay job of fighting his way back into this matchup.
I mean, I feel like Ruben did about everything you possibly could to make this a close game, even though it never felt like Aslan was even remotely struggling at all with defenses or anything. And that just, again, this is a conversation about the matchup, but also just how great of a player Ruben is.
Yeah. No, we saw that a couple times today, right? Where players in tough spots, we saw Mohamed Light do that earlier against Adnan in the Pigs versus Hog Rider matchup. These top-tier players creating opportunities for bad matchups to end up with a win.
Yeah, and that was well done by Ruben. I really don't know how you play through that otherwise, and Aslan just finding himself with a phenomenal matchup. And yeah, I mean, the fact that it was even relatively close at the end when Ruben was also running Tesla, I believe, right? It was Tesla, not Bomb Tower, is just real tough stuff. So, well played. That'll be it for our former world champion. And hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of him in 2024. I don't know if he's not involved in GKR, right? Is GKR almost, is it just like all amateurs?
No,
like
Shot Kalalis has a team in GKR that is as stacked as you would expect Shot Kalalis to be. Hold on, I think I have the rosters somewhere here for this one. Give me one moment. But yeah, no, it's a mixture of some semi-pro players and some top-tier pro players as well, which is super fun. Rosters for the winner split. I think Ruben might actually be on the Shot Kalalis roster is Adriel, Vitor, Pedro, Mo, Ruben, Lucas. So they are currently undefeated. Big shocker there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some other teams, like Wallace is on another team, Sosa, Dom are on another team, Surgical Goblin is on one of their teams, and then some like standouts like Inthrill, Titan have both been playing well, SB's been playing well, Schwarzen is getting back in the mix, Capgun had a really nice run the other day. So yeah, there's most of the players there are players you know, but yeah, that one team just happens to have you know, multiple world champions, and
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
everyone there's
the
a world
S-tier
finalist.
players that are in the world are all on the one team, and then the rest of the teams have like a couple amateurs and a couple names you definitely know about. Smurfblade saying that like amateur competitions are basically pro competitions now. Yeah, I'd say yes and no. I mean, I think GKR is like a great example of kind of the blending of both those worlds. But like, if you think about Royale Masters or something like that, like 2 years ago, that felt like a true amateur competition where like you were surprised when you saw the big names come into it. I think what people are realizing is kind of what you're saying is just that like the competition is exceptional everywhere, no matter like what league you're joining, and it's all about how much practice you want to put in. And I think also like when you look at people like Mo, who I think has been maybe one of the biggest champions of like, and I'm sure it's because he loves the money, but he's like, I'll join every competition there is, and then that already brings more validity to it, which I love, because then it gets other big names, and then it just kind of like, it's like a self-sustaining, you know, group of players.
Well, that's the, you know, I think that one of the other things too is these guys, these top pros are playing, you know, all day anyway. So why not have part of that play be in these competitions where you can add a little cash to it? And yeah, I still never have not met the guy who founded Shot Kalalis, but he's basically, you know, the super teams have been quite dominant this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the old Yankees or the Warriors, the Heat, whatever you want to call it. He has done a great job of just like, oh wow, that person also signed with them. Their roster has what on? Like who? How many world champions? It's and it's also like kind of calling out the other orgs out there that were like, you could have just done this also.
And a little note there that Ozlon with that win in his last game means all 8 players you see today have earned at least $1,000 total this year from Royale Masters competition.
Which is lovely to hear, because even though you got a couple, you know, you're going to have some bagels on the day here today, it is nice to hear that at least everyone that made it to this stage of the competition was able to walk away with 4 figures.
First 90 seconds away, and Dom sets up his E-Giant in the left-hand lane once more.
Just really looking for that first W is Doom after having a very tough go of... I mean, didn't he just run into Mo and Adnan this whole time?
Yeah, it's been real nasty for him.
Which is real tough. Literally, it was Mo twice and Adnan. And then he had a fun GKR battle with Vitor in the middle of it that he lost. So he's really doing it all right now.
Excuse me, don't you know who I am?
Evo Archers split. Poison goes to get the value on Tower Bowler and Evo Archer, and it just barely stays in range there.
That Evo Archer range is... I don't know if it needs to be changed, because that's part of what makes it so good, but it is definitely something that I am still learning, especially as they cross the bridge. I think that's like the hardest one, is the two of them are, as they cross the bridge, how quickly do I need to get on top of them before one of them connects? It feels like one always connects. And then what you still see pros struggle with a little bit, which is the perfect farthest distance placement in terms of defense.
Here we go,
Nice
aggressive play, good bar barrel there. And I don't think this means anything though. Bomb tower, log, and the Evo Knight stays up. Little Prince and Dominic just, even in this match, finding no way through.
I know, and he's running into, again, one of the worst matchups you could possibly have when you're running E-Giant, because it cycles like mad. You can get back to that building because you have the 3-card cycle. You don't have great ways to get on top of the miner that aren't very expensive, or where you lose that, your NATO, which is your most important utility as you cross the bridge. And then again, because of the pressure that your opponent is creating, it is very, very difficult to get an E-Giant bowler lightning push.
You know, and you see Cannon trying to predict the miner going to the safe spot. King Tower, we are in the final 75 seconds with a NATO against miner and no King Tower activation. So that's also an interesting thing to note. Shutting down the Little Prince here with the E-Giant. E-Giant shuts down Little Prince, but doesn't matter when the rest of the deck shuts down E-Giant.
Yeah, as the second E-Giant comes in, this is actually a moment that could be interesting. You just look at, there's no elixir in the tank for Doom, though. He needs to have more elixir, but he's like, okay, well, I have to find the goblins. Well, I need to use the barbell to find the goblins, but if I want a lightning, I need to save the elixir for everything, but then the goblins aren't dealt with, and you can see right here, Aslan just very happy to take this dub, and Doom with a very, very frustrating day here at Royale Masters King of the Hill. But remember, he was actually our #2 seed coming into the day, where he has picked up 16 wins already on the season. So not a bad year for Doom in terms of King of Kings and King of the Hill. Just a bad day.
Yeah, a rough day indeed, and we've all been there with Clash Royale. There are some days where you have it and some days where you simply don't, and today was from bad to worse in terms of matchups, both in terms of the players and the decks for Doom all the way through. And now we come back around to our final 2 matches of the day. The first one featuring Mohamed Light against Aslan. So we are either going to have Aslan adding another one to his wins and facing Lucas in our final match, or we'll get a classic Mohamed Light Lucas as our final matchup of the day. But the question right now is, can Aslan prevent that from happening?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's been very, very hard to stop Mo today, as it is every single day. I think casting a Mo Light Lucas match to close out our year at Royale Masters would be super, super fun. But Aslan is a guy that, like, you know, a lot of people, it's hard because I feel like he lost credit, even though he made World Finals, just because he couldn't be there in person, which was obviously not his fault. But it has been weird because that happened, and then he had like a pretty quiet 2023 in terms of like competitive showings. Even though he was able to get leaderboard points, even though he showed up in a lot of great events, it's just been kind of a down year for him, which just happens sometimes. I don't know him personally. I don't know if it's school or, you know, whatever it might be, or if it's just like adapting to the meta, which so many pros have had a really difficult time doing with Evos in the shift in meta. But it is nice to see a little bit more against Aslan, since we saw, or at least I saw, I'd say, so little of him this year compared to last.
Yeah, and you see popping off in the chat right now, the very vocal Turkish fan base.
Yeah.
That whenever one of theirs is in the mix, they show up pretty... They're like, the Turkish in Clash Royale are like the Irish in mixed martial arts. Like, wherever one goes, they all go.
And I love that they all have, like a universal calendar, because they always show up exactly when their competitors are competing, on the day and on the time. And I gotta say, I really love it. I wish that I had the Turkish community behind me, but I understand why I don't.
Yeah, well, they're here for Aslan, and we'll see if they're able to give him the juice needed to overcome the champ, the 2022 champ. It's interesting now. I have to change my whole thought process. He's no longer the defending champion. He now is a guy who has to make his push for 2024.
Yeah, right. He is a former world champion now. Here we go. 2 world finalists in 2022. And Mohamed Light, sounds like with a little bit of math done during the show, well over $700,000 won in his career from Clash Royale. See, even Glizzy knows the Turkish community is so strong. It's very true.
This 3-3 split of the 6-man, who I have been lobbying for the 6-man to become the 5-man. I think that I've been pretty vocal about not loving recruits conceptually.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see them go down to 5.
From 7 to 5?
Yes.
In a few years? Yeah, I mean...
Well, not 5 elixir, because they've always been 6.
But they were 7. Weren't they 7 when they first got released?
Were they?
I feel like they were 7, and then they got brought down to 6, but maybe I'm just making that up.
I think they were 7.
I feel like that was a conversation.
Is that... You might be totally right. I don't remember at all. Let me go ahead and go to the Clash Royale fandom and see if I can confirm. I have no idea. Now that you say it, I'm like, wait, was that the case? Let's look at the balance change list. Let's see.
Where is it?
I don't think they were ever 7. They initially cost 6 elixir, and then were increased to 8
elixir
to
elixir.
Yeah. to kill them.
When they were
because
8 elixir, they disappeared completely from the game, which makes sense.
I don't think they were ever 7 recruits. I think they were always 6 recruits.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it was the elixir thing I was thinking of.
But I would like it if they were dropped down to 5 recruits. That would be great, because then you'd actually have to consider where you put them on the board occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the way that recruits are played now, especially Evo recruits, is it's just... I mean, really it changes how your opponent has to play single elixir, as you could see, is like, it's just like very, very defensive. Because literally, if you ever find yourself overextending in single and you can't defend the one side of Evo recruits, it's just game over, which I think was kind of, I mean, it was definitely better than the meta that we're in right now, but also was a brutal meta that we just got out of.
Yes, true. All right, here we go. Recruits, skeleton dragons, pigs, a heal spear, a partridge, a pear tree. Can all of this break through for some real damage? And Little Prince shuts down most of that and maintains the lead for Mohamed Light as we go into sudden death.
Yeah, extending it to 200 HP here with those archers, and obviously anything can still happen with, I mean, that's the thing, is like literally with this type of matchup is triple elixir is when things actually start to get wild, and Mo Light doing a very good job of showing the best way to defend these recruits, which is obviously you want to try to keep their shield on until you have units right up next to them so you don't have to deal with that charge.
Little Prince, a problem, still has the Guardian, hauls it in, but doesn't get much on tower. That ended up being okay for Mohamed. Aslan trying to battle back here, but Mohamed proving to be a little bit too stalwart in his defense to give any real big openings as of yet.
Yeah, and I like this push by Mo here on the left-hand side. Instead of just going directly in with the miner, he's making his opponent have to spend just a little bit more, a little bit earlier. Now he can get his own recruits down low, and then I'd love to see a miner in now, you know, at least relatively soon, but instead Mo's just going to play only defense here. Nice snipe there on the Little Prince.
And those piggies do get healed up a little bit. The arrows come in. That's going to be a lot of damage.
That's
going to be quite a lot of damage. Yeah.
And that's damage Mo cannot make up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, too much pressure on. Goes Mortar high opposite lane. Cage to pick up. Fishboy to try to control the Little Prince, but playing minor arrows rather than minor poison makes this into a major problem.
And we may not be getting the Mo Light Lucas matchup, but we will be getting the Lucas Aslan matchup, which will still be a lot of fun because it feels like Aslan has really come to life here at the end of our day in the third leg of our competition.
There we go. Adding one more to his list. Aslan, I think now at $1,250 won so far this year from King of the Hill here at Royale Masters. And we are now going to be approaching our final game and saying goodbye to Mohamed Light.
Yeah, goodbye to Mohamed Light for the year for me. And yeah, it's a really nice run by Aslan here at the end of the day. You know, I think, again, it's like you talk about what can he do in 2023? We didn't see a whole lot of it, but still hanging with the absolute best of the best here in King of the Hill. Yes, it's a best of one, but I also like that we've been seeing him do it with different decks. You called it out earlier, like seeing him play more minor poison control or more Royal Hog cycle is definitely different than the Aslan that we were kind of used to seeing. We used to see him play a lot of heavier decks, a lot of Royal Giant. So it's good that he's at least been able to evolve with the meta, and he's actually been having some pretty good picks throughout. Like, he's had really nice matchups.
Oh, indeed. Indeed. And now we get to the final match of the day here against Lucas. And I'm trying to figure out, where did I put? There we go. There we go. Looking at what Aslan has played so far today. So we saw that
it's been very
Piggy's deck right here. Yeah. Then we saw the minor control before that. The Royal Hogs EQ with the Inferno Tower matchup against Ruben. Some more minor control. A little bit of Goblin Giant in there, but that one was, now I'm seeing some matches that he did that were not actually in our competition, because of course while you're waiting, why not go ahead and get in some gameplay outside? We talk about practice.
Talk about practice? No, but what does look interesting is, other than the deck that we just saw, which is almost 4 Elixir, is basically Aslan has been successful playing quick cycle decks and not successful playing heavier decks. I mean, even though that game that you were talking about was a loss, that was not, that was just a ranked game. That was one with a 3.5 cycle. Then the first game he has out against Adnan is almost 4. So it actually feels like he's gone against the grain of what we're used to seeing with him and is succeeding by, again, leaning into the meta. At least one side of it, since the beatdown meta didn't seem to be working for him.
And Lucas going with the Royal Hog cycle deck. The one interesting thing that he's going to encounter here is, and he's going with the Inferno Tower version too. Maybe expecting he would be up against the Goblin Giant instead. The one interesting thing for him here is he's playing the Ice Spirit with the Royal Delivery, which will not be enough to get those Skeleton Dragons off the board. That's going to end up being kind of annoying for him on occasion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, he's already calling good game, maybe recognizing exactly what you are. He's already taken a good amount of damage. He's already going to have a very difficult time dealing with his Evo recruits. And then that last part of it, the Skeleton Dragons, how do I get on top of them? So those... the other thing is, like, you feel like Evo Skellies should do just a little bit better job against Evo recruits. But I guess when you talk about the trade that could potentially happen, it's maybe too much for the Skellies.
1 for
too
6.
Positive.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Exactly.
And Delivery not there to stop the little Prince. With the Zappies in front of it, Ice Spirit comes out, and it gets wrecked by the Guardian. And the lead continues to open up for Aslan here in the final match of the day.
Yeah, and Aslan has just been going downhill this whole time. It feels like game after game after game, he's just picked up more and more momentum. And this game already sewn up. I mean, even the last one was neck and neck with Mo, but this one already in the books.
We get some okay Piggies damage here on the left. But then you still have to contend with what's coming down the pipe here. Inferno Tower should come out to pull. It does. Delivery to work on the Piggies side of it. Lucas is going to defend that right-hand side a little bit more aggressively just because it's in danger. And the kite with the recruit on the Skelly Drags is actually really key here.
Dominic Hess, so much fun watching and hearing you guys commentate. Greetings from Germany. Greetings to you. What is it, morning time over there?
They're 6 hours ahead of me, so it should be late. So it should be early evening. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening
7
to
hours
you.
ahead. Piggies in. The Heal Spirit goes to the Evo Skellies. But chipping away at this lead right now is Lucas.
Yeah, and we're gonna see. We need to see a really nice defense here from Lucas, or else it'll feel like the things have really run away from him. So we'll see what this Inferno can do as the Skeleton Dragons and the recruits are on top of it. Those Piggies kind of untouched, but the Delivery does great work late. And can he get an ability off here? Aslan, no, he decides to just let the Little Princess. And there's the ability late. Love it.
Ice Spirit, Skellies, Little Prince stays up, has to log, and Lucas is going to take some damage here. But that was the lane where he had some damage to give, right? He knows that there's still dual lane pressure, but if he's going to take any shots, that's the side you want to take him on. Aslan just keeping the pressure on here.
Yeah, that's exactly what you have to do. We'll see what these Evo Skellies can do. I like the Evo Skellies play. Nice Guardian ability, though, from Aslan. Just ready for everything as those two recruits get on top of that left-hand tower. Piggies to block.
Yeah, Lucas needed to be a little bit faster there on those Piggies. I think that he was looking at the offensive side of the board a little bit too much and not as much on the defensive side of the board. But here we are, triple Elixir, behind by about 300 HP. Can he get the 3-card cycle involved and really hold on here?
Heal Spirit, so weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. Earthquake,
but it's really
log,
helping those pushes.
Spirit.
Like when you have that Inferno plus Delivery push, those Heal Spirits are actually giving Aslan that like second leg of damage.
He's trying to defend so cheaply on the right-hand side. Arrows come out and get the Little Prince out. Evo Skellies will pop off here. And now 588, 465, 17 seconds left. Pigs in, great Little Prince ability plus cage to stop all that. Needs to go high with an Inferno Tower. No, goes Delivery plus Ice Spirit.
For it.
Doesn't have it. EQ in. Brawler's gonna hit though, and Aslan able to take the win despite the valiant effort here by Lucas.
Yeah, great job by Lucas late game there. I mean, honestly, had he just not spent a little bit, I mean, I'm looking right now on the replay. If he just didn't earthquake, that's all it was. Is he had the hogs, he had the log, all of it was fine. But it was that last second earthquake that he sent in before he tried to get the Inferno down, because he was at, I think, 5, ticking to 6. And then he goes EQ instead, realizes he doesn't have enough for the Inferno Tower. And maybe if he just holds on that Inferno, defends, then he can get it around to another EQ. He might have actually won that game.
Yeah, that was a really nice ending. And Smurfley making the play. Who did Ozline beat back-to-back there? Ruben, Dominic, Mo, Lucas. So a great way to end your day here. And we're going to have our leaderboards on the day in just a couple of moments. And then we'll also take a look at the overall season leaderboards. Get a full picture of what the King of the Hill has been like, both here, King of Kings, and for all of 2023. Let's take a look right now at today's leaderboard as we wrap things up. Mohamed Light with the big winner overall, 8 wins, $2,000. Trainer Adnan right behind him for $1,500. But Aslan, who had the bagel coming into the end, and then goes 4 in a row for $1,000. Very nicely done.
Yeah, like you said, Ruben, Doom, Mo Light, and Lucas, and he does it twice with this weird Royal Recruits spammy deck, but then the other times he does it with just our Hog Cycle and then Minor Poison Control. So you love to see him do it with all different types. You love to see the 4 and the O to end the day and maybe end the year for him. But yeah, also $1,000, man. You had a bagel a minute ago, and now you get $1,000. Great showing for him, and obviously once again to the Pharaoh, Mo Light.
One more time, a tip of the hat. Yeah, to the moat, which is, we'll see how long we can carry that one on, but I certainly enjoy it. And here, we come to the end of this King of the Hill season. This is one of such a unique competition, because whether you're looking, no matter what competition you're looking at throughout Clash Royale, the esports world here, most of it is either a mixture of dual mode being the primary game mode for most head-to-head competition, or we've seen some mega drafts this year, some 2v2 this year, some team competitions that mix things up. But this is the only one that puts you out there for a bunch of BO1s. And those BO1s can be so stressful. And let's take a look at the year-long leaderboard to see who's really been able to play kind of like a ladder-style mode. 27 wins on the year for Mohamed Light, $4,050. Trainer Adnan on the back of a brilliant performance today, in second with 14 wins and almost $2,400. Igor with 14 wins and $2,000. Plus Dom and Lucas both with more total wins than Igor, but not on the most important day of the year, both coming in at around 1,800.
But still really impressive stuff when you talk about the numbers there from Dominic and Lucas. Obviously, Igor and Adnan happy to take a little bit more money. And then you go to Mo Light, who we'll go to second place, because that's what second place is, almost doubling the amount of wins there, and not quite doubling the prize pool, but still doing a very good job. And what a blast, man. I love Royale Masters for exactly what you're talking about. I love Summer Clash. I love their traditional duel version. I like that we have best of one King of the Hill here, because as one of our viewers found out, CRL has been around for 6 years, and while the format has obviously changed and evolved over the years, it feels kind of like it's in its place now. I mean, obviously there's rumblings of Mega Draft happening. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Who knows? But like the dual mode and best of 3 and double elimination, all that, it feels very set in stone at this point. So it's really nice to have a competition that gets to change it up for us and the competitors.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't think Mega Draft's going to come to CRL, but maybe a Mega Draft league that's separate would be super fun. Who knows? Either way, we're reaching the end of our official esports calendar for Clash Royale in 2023. Andrew, any final thoughts on the year as we this is our final official broadcast for the year?
No, I mean, just such a blast. It's always good closing out the year with you. It's always good opening the year with you. I love casting with you, man. Tasty Bacon, who has done an incredible job working with him in numerous aspects this year, but he's just been an incredible producer. I love Royale Masters. I'm excited to see more of it in 2024. And obviously for you guys, I love seeing that in the chat. You and I talk about it all the time. I'm better than these guys. I could beat them. Well, guess what? It's the era of everyone. It has been for a long time. So hopefully I will be able to cast your matches either here or at CRL in 2024.
That's it for today. Thanks for those of you who joined us. On behalf of everybody here at Royale Masters, for Tasty in the booth, for Andrew Guy, I'm Rich Slayton, and it's a blast seeing you. We'll see you back again in 2024.